considerably,
Hello,
which is
pasensya na mga
considered
guys.
as fictitious and fabricated. Do you have any knowledge on how they could come up with this kind of documents appearing in these acknowledgement receipts and presented before the COA and found out that these very dubious documents?
Mr.
Pasensya
Chair,
na
Your
mga
Honor,
guys at
respectfully, I apologize, but
pasensya na mga guys at nawala yung ano natin kanina. Kaya nag-relive uli. Nawala.
I cannot answer because I do not have personal knowledge on that matter.
Thank you. That would be all, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. The chair would like to recognize the Honorable Kate Flores.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Attorney Sanchez, I was listening to the questions of Congressman Gil kanina and specifically about your letter, your statement. Did you or did you not know that the letter that was submitted to this committee was notarized?
Your Honor, I did not know, Your Honor.
You did not know. So now that you know that it was notarized without your knowledge, how does it make you feel as a lawyer, Attorney Sanchez?
Your Honor, I would have to check, Your Honor.
You'd have to check your feelings.
Sorry.
How do you feel about the matter that the letter that was submitted was notarized without you knowing it was notarized?
Your Honor, I know that it had to be notarized, but I was not able to personally have it notarized because of time constraints, Your Honor.
So you did not have it notarized by yourself.
Yes, Your Honor.
So isn't the notarization, doesn't it state that you personally appeared before this notary public, etc., etc.?
Your Honor, as I mentioned, I did not have it personally notarized.
Kaya nga, my question is, as a lawyer, how does it make you feel?
Ito, namimilit ka na
What is your
naman.
thoughts about the matter?
Mimilit
I
ka na
would
naman,
need to
unggoy.
check, Your Honor.
You need to check on how you feel.
And
All right. I
Your
got
Honor,
it,
on
Attorney
how
Sanchez.
it got notarized, Your Honor.
Yeah, thank you. Now, in your statement, you said, dated November 9, na the documents that you submitted contain the names of the beneficiaries of the programs of the different programs of the Office of the Vice President, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
It contained the names and the details of these persons who received help from the Office of the Vice President.
That is correct, Your Honor.
And there were a lot of programs mentioned in the Office of the Vice President, diba? And very good programs din. Parang namimigay din ng ayuda yung Office of the Vice President.
We provide assistance, Your Honor.
Yeah, kaya nga, in the form of an ayuda. Or something.
Various forms, Your Honor.
Right. Now, one of this is the medical assistance program, correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Another is the rice food bags.
Yes, Your Honor.
No? And sa sinabit ninyo na 2023 budget accountability report, you indicated that there were about 977,615 beneficiaries of the different programs of the Vice President,
Yes, Your Honor.
most of which were the libreng sakay.
Yes, Your Honor.
How did you account for the libreng sakay in the first place? No? Did you count how many people rode the jeepneys?
Yes, Your Honor. We require the conductors to submit trip reports. So for every trip, they have a ticker as to the number of passengers that rode the bus, Your
So
Honor.
that is the bulk of the beneficiaries, no?
Yes,
Yung
Your Honor.
libreng sakay. Okay. Now, ang medical assistance, like, are you familiar with how the medical assistance are given by the Office of the Vice President?
Yes, Your Honor.
So you are. Is there a limitation as to how much one can get in terms of medical assistance?
We have a tier, Your Honor.
Here.
And,
Okay.
and it depends on the nature of the assistance
So-
being requested, Your Honor.
To determine the nature of the assistance needed, specifically the medical assistance, you would need to interview the patient or the person asking for medical assistance.
Yes, Your Honor.
So do you have in the employ of the Office of the Vice President social workers
Yes, Your Honor.
who does the interviewing?
Some social workers, Your Honor, but
Some
there
social
are
workers.
other employees who are non-social workers, Your Honor.
Okay, now the medical assistance is given in the form of cash or goods?
It's in the form of guarantee letters, Your Honor.
Guarantee letters to another government agency.
No, Your Honor.
Alright.
it can be a government hospital, but can also be private hospitals and
Alright.
pharmacies and other medical service providers, Your Honor.
So let me understand it. You give a guarantee letter to, example, patient A is asking for 10,000 pesos, and after interviewing, parang you find out that they are qualified to get this kind of amount. So you give a guarantee letter addressed to the hospital where he or she is being admitted, that the office of the vice president will pay for this amount or
Yes.
will cover this amount.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's correct, right?
Yes.
How about in terms of medicines or something like that?
We also give for 2023, Your Honor, we provide the medicines, Your Honor. But
So actual medicines na.
yes, Your Honor.
So they give you parang prescriptions, and then ang ibabalik niyo sa kanila are actual medicines that they need.
Yes, Your Honor.
Wow. But then again, when you report this in your budget accountability report, you indicate how much or ilang magkano ang value ng medicines na binigay niyo to this particular patient.
Yes, Your
No?
Honor.
So, in this report, you indicated that there were about 95,756 na nakatanggap ng medical assistance. Would that be a fair statement or an accurate statement, Attorney Sanchez?
Your Honor, can we see the presentation again, Your Honor? Sorry.
Table number 16. Do we have a slide of table number 16? Yung, yes, that one.
Makagawa-gawa lang naman nyo yan.
95,756, Your
Would
Honor.
that be correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So now, 95,756 ang binigyan niyo ng medical assistance, and the total amount given for medical assistance was about 998,279,054 pesos. It's almost 1 billion pesos. Would that also be correct?
I will confirm, Your Honor, if that amount includes the burial assistance.
Can anyone of the persons invited confirm the amount?
Million lang. Million na mga guys, pinag-uusapan nila million. Pero yung billion, hindi nila pinag-uusapan. Grabe naman itong mga congressman na ito. Yung billion na ninanakaw sa taong bayan, hindi nila pinag-uusapan.
Your
Pero
Honor,
yung million,
based on the
inuusisa
annual
nila
audit
yung million
report,
lang.
the amount dispersed for
Grabe talagang
both medical
kalkuhan
and
ito.
burial assistance programs. Your
Grabe
Honor,
na ito mga guys.
for medical
Grabe na
assistance.
talaga.
Medical assistance. Nakamix. Your Honor, we reported the lump sum.
Lump sum.
amount.
Magkano yung amount na binireport niyo?
1,044,569,868.
That's for both medical and burial
Burial,
assistance. Well, anyway, from the documents that we got, it indicated na 998 lang dito ang medical assistance. No? So if you gave 998 million pesos in medical assistance to 95,000 persons, that should average out at about 10,500 or more or less, no?
Yes,
Per
yes, Your
person.
Honor.
Is that the usual amounts that you give to, or it would vary?
It would vary.
So
Your
some
Honor.
would be 20,000, 50,000 maybe.
Yes, Your Honor.
May cap ba kayo
The cap for 2023 is 50,000, Your Honor.
for medical assistance?
Yes.
That's the cap for
Your
medical
Honor. For
assistance.
hospitalization. Your Honor.
Hospitalization. And why was there a cap that was set for medical assistance? Bakit may cap?
Your Honor, we set the cap because of the limited amount of budget, Your Honor.
Because of the limited amount of budget. Kaya dapat, para mas marami kayong matulungan, mas spread out tong amount
Tama,
na to,
napaganda
you
patuloy si
set
BP.
it at 50,000 pesos.
Eh,
Yes,
ginagawa
Your
nila
Honor.
puro tulong.
For
Yes.
hospitalized na patients or
Yes, Your
something.
Honor.
Okay. Now, kasi the thing why I'm asking this is that the confidential fund also had medical payments or something for medical things, no?
Bakit kasi lagi nyo lang tinatanong ang confidential? Kaya nga confidential, ano bang ibig sabihin ng confidential? Confidential, hindi pinag-uusapan. Kaya nga confidential eh. Itong congressman na ito, grabe talaga itong mga ano nila. Ba't di nyo tanongin ang confidential funds ng presidente? Mas malaki, billion. Ilang billion. Hindi nyo tanongin. Samantala yan, ilang milyon lang yan. Lagi nyo pinag-uusapan. Confidential nga eh.
Confirm that?
Your Honor, I have no...
Medical and ano ba yung sinasabi nila? Purchase of provision of medical and food aid ang sinasabi to justify the expense. So that was the documents that the office of the Vice President submitted. And in one of this tulong na binigay nila in terms of purchase of provision of medical and food aid is in the amount of 1 million pesos. No?
1 million
So if
lang.
the theory supposedly was that we are to cap the medical assistance at 50 para mas marami yung matulungan, bakit may isang medical assistance na umabot ng 1 million pesos? Okay, if we can show the
Mali mo kung ang sakit ng binigyan nila ay malala, tulad ng cancer, hindi lang 1 million yan ang magagastos dyan. Depende naman kasi yan sa sa humingi ng tulong.
acknowledgement receipt, no? Para mapakita natin yan. February 6, 2023, 1 million.
Kayo kasi palibasa, hindi kayo tumutulong. Tumutulong lang kayo para sa pangangampanya nyo.
Food aid. So di ba it defeats the purpose na so akala ko nga kinakap nyo at 50,000 para mas marami yung matulungan nyo. Bakit dito 1 million isang tao lang? Would you know the reason for that, Attorney Sanchez?
I'm sorry, Your Honor, but I do not have information on that.
Huwag mo lang anuin yan. Baka gawa-gawa lang yun. Huwag mo na sagutin.
Rice
Huwag mo na
food
sagutin.
bags.
Baka gawa-gawa ng mga
How much
congressman
is
yan.
given to each beneficiary sa rice food bags?
Mr. Chair, Your Honor, the average amount of the package is around 500 pesos, Your Honor.
500 pesos. So, kung 50,000 na medical assistance plus rice na 500 pesos, that should just be 50,500, di ba? Hindi pwede itong 1 million na ginamitan ng confidential fund. Kasi sobra-sobra na siya, di ba? If you go through the normal programs of the Office of the Vice President. Kasi the thing
Oy, bubo. 1 million lang, hinanap mo yung 1 million. Magkano naman ang 1 million ngayon? Magkano lang ang 1 million ngayon sa panahon ngayon? Hinahanap mo. Ang hanapin mo yung 1.4 billion araw-araw na flood control. Yan ang hanapin nyo. Sana punta. Hindi yung 1 million lang hinahanap nyo. Samantala 1.4 billion. Hindi nyo hinahanap. Ang klaseng mga congressman ito.
hindi ko lang makuha kasi is like
Hindi mo magkuha kasi
you already have an existing medical assistance program.
may
And if you already have an existing rice
may
food
ano na
bank
kayo.
program, why would you still be needing to use the confidential funds for the provision of medical and food aid?
Pati mga
Bakit po
gamot
kaya sa
eh.
tingin ninyo?
Ano yun mo pa?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, Your Honor.
Yan, huwag mo
I
nang
cannot
ano yun, sagutin.
make,
Kasi
opinion
bubo
on
naman
that
yan.
matter.
So you don't know the reason
Oh,
why.
ipilit naman.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Sinabi nang hindi alam.
Wouldn't it be more practical sana na isang source of fund lang ang sa medical assistance, isang source of fund lang ang sa food aid para mas uniform yung pagbigay nyo at mas marami yung mabibigyan niyo ng ayuda?
Akala mo tumutulong ito. Akala mo tumutulong.
Mr. Chair, I do not have information on the actual utilization of the confidential fund, Your Honor.
Yeah. Kasi in December 21 to 31 yung 2022 na confidential fund, ang provision of medical and food aid is 40 million. Di ba? Now, on February 6 to March 29, 2023, din the first quarter of 2023, ang provisions for medical and food aid increased to 42 million. Sa sa April 25 to June 30 is bumalik to 40 million. Now, hindi ko lang maintindihan po. Bakit kailangan pa mag-utilize ng confidential fund if may existing na kayo na programa for food and medical assistance?
I have no knowledge about that, Mr. Chair.
Now,
Yan.
again, in your letter, kasi balikan ko to in your letter, in your statement pala, no, dated November 9, you said na lahat ng beneficiaries at details nila ay nailista when you submitted it to the COA. Tama po ba?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Now, ang details na to would include saan na hospital, magkano binigay, anong address ng beneficiary na binigyan. Tama po ba?
Yes, Mr. Chair, with respect to the regular fund, Your Honor.
Yes, with respect to the regular fund, which is contrary to the confidential fund na ginamit din for the similar
confidential fund.
similar purpose of the provision of medical and food aid, which just states na it's 1 million to this person, just the name and signature and the date. Tama po.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So again,
Ano?
I
Nabubulol
understand
ka.
the programs of the Vice President. They're very good programs, no? Tulong sa tao, no? Ayuda din in that form. But why
Ano?
do you need to use separate funds that have different accounting requirements?
Mag-Vice President ka muna. Mag-Vice President ka muna.
Mr. Chair, I cannot answer on that. But from
Bakit
what
pagkikilaman
I
yung
know,
trabaho
Your
ng
Honor,
Vice President?
is that the confidential funds are intended for a different set of beneficiaries, or it is for a different purpose, Your Honor,
But it
than
said
the regular programs. of
medical
the-
and food aid din eh. It's the same purpose as that of your medical assistance and rice food bags. Similar din, di ba?
I have no information, Your Honor, because the details as to the specific purpose of the confidential fund has not been disclosed to me.
Has not
Your
been?
Honor. Was not disclosed to me, Your
Kaya
Honor.
nga, that's what I'm harping at is like, kasi kung uniform lang sana, anyway, it's the same purpose, it's the same intention, na tulungan tong mga taong to or whatever, no? Bakit hindi isang fund na lang ang gagamitin or tap into one fund? Anyway, in the regular program,
Kala mo
you said
naman, magaling ka.
kanina na may social workers kayo who will be interviewing these people. Di ba? And in
Mag-
fact, you even set a cap para mas marami kayong matulungan, may cap kayo at 50,000. Yet here,
Mag-Vice President ka muna para alam mo ang trabaho mo. Ikaw, hanggang dadalang kayo ng dada dyan sa Congress. Wala naman kayong ginawa dyan kung hindi magdada. Wala rin patutunguhan. Hindi naman kayo korte. Kung sa tingin nyo ay may kasalanan ng BP, edi pahilan nyo na ng kaso. Hindi yung kung ano-ano ang pinagsasabi nyo lang. Tagal na, wala nang katapusan ng hearing na yan. Ubus ng pera ng taong bayan. Ilan, yung 125 million, magmula nung mag-hearing kayo, baka hindi lang 125 million na ubos nyo dyan sa gastos araw-araw at sa bawat hearing nyo.
as an example, I showed you kanina, yung isang acknowledgement receipt lang, 1 million, isang tao lang. And all it said was that it is for medical aid and food provisions. So that's my concern, no? And I think lang even if it is such a laudable program, no, it's a very good program that was initiated by the Office of the Vice President.
Oh, very good
Para
pala.
to avoid
Bakit kinukusto
confusion na
nyo?
lang and investigations like this, sana, dapat one source of fund for that purpose. Yun na yun, di ba? Huwag na yung itap mo pa ang confidential. You got the confidential fund should be used for purposes approved by the joint circular. Dapat, yun lang. Huwag na yung
Mas
food and medical. Meron na kayong regular program.
marunong ka pa sa
Mas
Vice
malaki pa ang
President.
pondo nyo
Mag-Vice
for that,
President
di ba?
ka muna.
How much ang pondo nyo for that regular programs na ginamit nyo for medical assistance and food aid?
Around 1 billion, Your Honor, for medical and burial
See?
assistance, Your Honor.
So, yung 40 million na yun, malit lang na bagay yun. Di ba?
Buti
Compared
alam
to
mo.
yun, but why
Buti alam mo.
use it in such a way
Maliit
Ah,
lang.
different yung
Kaya lang,
accounting requirements and report our
alam nyo naman talaga na walang yan. Walang kasalanan yan. Pero, ginagawa nyo lang issue para lang sirayan nyo ang isang tao. Ba't di kayo lumaban ng patas? Ma-election naman eh. Kung talagang ng taong bayan, kung talagang ayaw nila sa Vice President, doon na natin nahatulan. Tigilan nyo na yung kalukuhan dyan, paghihiring. Walang katapusan. Kasi, alam ng taong bayan na ayan ang ginagawa nilang politiko yan. Kaya kung talagang may kasalanan yan, doon natin malalaman sa araw ng eleksyon, sa 2028 man. Tsaka unang-una, hindi pa natin alam yan kung tatakbo ba yan si Sara. Wala nakakaalam yan. Malay mo, dada kayo ng dada, sira kayo ng sira sa kanya. Hindi naman pala tatakbo yan si Ruben Padilla pala o di kaya si Tulfo magiging presidente. Dahil sa politika, kung ano ang ginagawa niyo, walang katapusan. Mas malaki pa ang nagagastos niyo diyan araw-araw, walang katapusan. Hindi naman kayo korte.
Requirements. Yan ang hindi ko masagot. And I'm sure, most likely, hindi mo rin masagot yan. Can you answer?
No, Your Honor.
Yes. And sino sa tingin mo ang pwedeng magsagot, who could answer, no? Who could give us answers to these questions? Sino po?
Your Honor, as to the actual disbursements of the fund, that would be the special disbursing officer, Your Honor.
How about as to the reason as to why two separate funds were used? Who should have answered this? Bakit confidential lang isa? Bakit regular fund lang isa?
Mariano, yun
Your Honor,
nasa sayo yan. No to
the
Sara,
fund was requested by the office.
Karapatan mo yan
Kaya
kung
nga,
sino ang gusto
I'm
mo.
questioning who would be the person in the best position to answer why it was separated.
Pero taong bayan talaga yan na
Your Honor, the head of the agency, Your Honor.
And who is that head of
Mamili.
agency?
Vice President Sara Duterte, Your Honor.
Thank you, Attorney Sanchez. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Congressman Flores. The chair would like to recognize Congresswoman Mika Swansing.
Igalang natin na lahat ng tao kung sino ang gusto nila.
Thank you very
Okay lang
much,
yun.
Mr. Chair.
Okay lang yun, Mariano,
Mr.
kung
Chair,
ayaw
I
mo kay Sara.
would like to direct my first set of
Stick
questions to Attorney Sanchez. Attorney Sanchez, I would just like to reiterate some of the questions my colleagues asked.
Ito naman
while
yung isa
ago,
pang mayabang
Nakalagay po,
ano?
you signified that the signature on the statement is
Guangxing?
yours and it was
Guangxing ba ito?
duly authorized. But you had no knowledge that it was notarized. Is that correct, Attorney Sanchez?
Yes, Your Honor.
Opo. Siguro on this po, I will not belabor the point, but I would just like to second what Kong Rog.
Kasi ang ginagawa nila itong mga congressman, mga crooks. Pagalingan sila ng salita. Kung sinong mas magaling, mas malaki siguro ang bigay ni Tamba. Yan siguro ang niyan. Kaya tingnan nyo, bawat magsalitang diyan, kanya-kanyang pakulo. Kasi siyempre si Tamba, nanonood si Tamba diyan, ikaw si magaling ito. May bonus ka sa akin. Kaya ganun siguro ang nangyayari diyan, kaya pagalingan sila eh. Kaya tingnan niyo itong babae na ito, magsalita yan, hindi yan titigil basta-basta.
Spoke about earlier. Kasi pati po dito makikita natin ang nag-notarize po ng inyong statement ay si Attorney Rochelle Abella. Which to me is very interesting, Mr. Chair, because one, she's already operating outside of her area of jurisdiction, which actually kind of renders the notarization invalid. But second po, apart from like official OVP DepEd documents, it seems like she's also handling personal notarizations, like notarizations of personal documents for all of the employees of OVP and DepEd without the employee's knowledge. So, mukha pong, Mr. Chair, I would leave it, I would defer it to the judgment of the committee as to whether we should also call on Attorney Rochelle Abella to answer some of the questions because it seems like she's certifying
magpatawag naman sila, ibig sabihin may hearing pa
documents
uli.
being covered in this committee, Mr. Chair. But I would just like, Mr. Chair, I will defer that to the committee as to whether we want to invite Attorney Rochelle Abella.
Just an interjection, Mr. Chair. In
Lahat
line
na
with
ng
the
tao, imbitahan niyo
statements
na.
of Congresswoman Mika, Mr. Chair, can I move that we invite Attorney
Itong si Panot.
Abella?
Sige,
There's
invite
a
mo na
motion
Panot.
to invite Attorney Abella, duly seconded. Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is carried.
Ibig sabihin, may hearing pa na naman uli.
Mr. Chair, interjection.
Kasi nag-invite na naman
Yes,
sila.
Congressman Jill.
Attorney Sanchez, you mentioned that you have no knowledge that the statement was notarized, correct?
Mr. Chair, I submitted my signed statement to the office, to the OVP, Your Honor, but I was not part of the notarization, Your Honor.
But you are aware that that document will be notarized because
Ah,
you receive a phone call asking for
ito
your
naman
ID,
si
correct?
Yang Gonz, si
I was aware that it would be notarized, but I was not aware
Oh.
if it was actually notarized, Your Honor.
For Miss Julieta Villa del Rey, who prepared your
Oh,
statement?
tingnan mo, hindi pa niya oras
Ako
magsalita
po,
ito,
Your Honor.
nagkikipag-ano
Ikaw
ah.
po. Hindi
Oh.
po yung lawyer na nag-notarize. Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Oh.
Mr. Chair, just along that line.
Panot, sige panot.
Attorney Sanchez, with regards to the statement, you mentioned that you were not aware that it was notarized. Is that correct?
We intended to have it notarized, Your Honor, but as to the actual notarization, due to the short period of time from the time that I received the subpoena and the time that I made my statement, hindi ko na
So,
po
who had it
napanotarize.
notarized?
I will, again, Your Honor, I will check po with our office, Your Honor.
Hindi. Kasi, ikaw ang acting chief of staff. So, you would know to whom you would entrust notarizing that document.
Your Honor, just to correct Your Honor, I am not the acting chief of staff.
You are...
I am the director for administrative
Oh.
and
Okay, sorry.
financial
Okay.
services.
Now,
bubo ka
it's
eh.
so far as it's a
Oh.
document that has your signature affixed to it.
Salita ka pa,
Yes.
wala ka pa naman na alam.
Yes, Your Honor, I
So
just
to whom did you entrust the responsibility of having that document notarized?
I just left the document, Your Honor, to the head of our legal affairs division, Your Honor.
And that would be
Attorney Torrentira, Your Honor.
yung nandito kanina.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, meaning, iniwan mo yung dokumento na pinirmahan mo na ikaw din ang gumawa sa kanya. Tapos siya na po ang nagpa-notaryo. Tama po ba?
I am not sure, Your Honor.
No, but you entrusted it to her, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
I
So
just
you-
requested her, Your Honor, to send the document to...
So you did not know whether or not she had the document notarized.
Yes, Your Honor.
But you're a lawyer.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Chair?
I'm sorry, Congresswoman Swansea.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I would also, maybe one question that's also playing in my mind is, given that they all seem to be centralizing the submission of all of these documents,
Oh.
baka meron pong filter, baka meron pong nagre-review ng
Ito
lahat
ang-
ng mga statements nila.
Itong babae na to, puro judgmental ito lagi. Bawat magtanong ito mula pa sa simula. Yan ang ano niya eh. Baka, kalabaw, kambing. baka.
As to whether it's allowable, if I may use
Oh.
that term, na pwede pong i-release. So yun lang, Mr. Chair. I don't know
No, yun
as
lang.
well
Tapos hindi pa
why
yan titigil.
the
Hindi pa yan titigil. Yun lang. Hindi
officials
pa
of the
titigil.
committee are barred from sending directly to the committee, because that's also an avenue that they have. They're given the contact details, the email address of the committee as well, so they could have easily sent it directly, Mr. Chair. But just wanted to highlight that, Mr.
Shout
Chair,
out
before
sa'yo,
I move on to my
Alfredo.
questions. Attorney Sanchez, given that you've manifested to the committee that you've drafted your statement word per word,
Okay.
I would like to ask specific questions on some of the statements that you made. The first point that I would like to quote was
Ginagalang natin lahat
your
ang bawat
statement
ano natin
saying
dito.
for the years 2022
Kung
and
makasara ka, ayaw
2023,
mo kay
the
Sara,
OVP has received
nakasara
unmodified
na,
or
hindi naman tayo
unqualified
pare-pareho.
opinions in COA's annual audit reports. An unmodified or unqualified opinion is considered as the best rating given by COA. So, ang tanong ko po siguro, Attorney Sanchez, what is your understanding
Ilawan,
of what
pulahan,
it means when COA issues an
ano bang tawag
unmodified
dyan sa
or
ano ni
unqualified
Sara
opinion?
Green?
Your Honor, Mr. Chair,
Birthday,
my
ano bang
understanding
tawag
is
dyan?
that
Kahit anong kulay ka
the
man,
unmodified
welcome
or
po kayo dito.
unqualified opinion means that the audited financial statements present
Walang barahan
fairly
dito,
in all
kanya-kanyang
material respects
Decision.
the financial position of the agency.
My next question is, what is your basis for saying that, quote, this is considered as the best rating given by the COA?
Your Honor, because there are three
Oh,
audit
kanya-kanyang
opinions which are
kanya-kanyang script.
usually
Oh.
issued by the
Yan,
Commission on Audit. The first is the unmodified.
Oh, tingnan nyo, kanya-kanyang scripted yan. Mga tanong nila. Bawat isa dyan, may may tinitignan lang hindi sila makapagtanong ng sarili nilang pag-iisip. Kasi kailangan yan, sabi ni Tamba, ikaw, pag nagkamali ka, stick to one lang tayo. Kung ano ang binigay dyan, kung anong scripted sa inyo, yan ang babasahin nyo at itanong nyo. Ganyan lang yan, mga congressman, mga crooks.
Opinion. The next is the qualified opinion, and the last is the adverse opinion.
Thank you, Attorney Sanchez.
Ayan,
May
tinitignan pa,
to maybe rebut
Ayan, nakasulat
some of
na.
the points that you noted. May
Ayan,
I request the COMSEC to please flash the statement
Oh.
released by COA
Bawat
themselves.
isang congressman, may scripted
that
na, binabasa.
Essentially, a statement saying that the highest COA rating or COA audit rating is not an unmodified opinion. So let me read specific answers or clarifications issued by COA. I would like to first highlight the third paragraph, which is their definition of what an unmodified opinion is, or an unqualified opinion, which is issued when the auditor concludes that the financial statements are prepared in all material respects in accordance with applicable financial reporting framework. The next that I would like to highlight is in the first paragraph. An audit opinion should not be viewed as a rating, score, or grade with ranking of lowest to highest. I would like to move to my next slide, if the COMSEC may please show that. It has the different types of audits. It has your financial audit, your performance audit, and the compliance audit. So I would just like to create a delineation among the three different audits that COA does.
Sige, galingan mo, Swanseng. Galingan mo, Swanseng. Kasi nanonood si Tamba. Lapit ng December, malaki ang bonus nyo. Galingan mo lang. Yung nakasulat dyan, kailangan basahin mo na maayos.
Here, Attorney Sanchez, just wanted to align on the terms before we move further in our discussion. COA does three types of audits. So there's a financial audit, which, as you said, pertains only on the alignment of whatever documents you submit, their alignment to the IPSAS and the PFRS. So it's essentially really making sure na numbers to numbers, balance lahat. Tama po ba yun? For compliance with accounting standards, yun ang po yung tinitignan doon.
Your Honor, from my understanding is that it also means that the financial statements are accurate or present fairly what is the real position of the financial status of the agency, Your Honor.
But it's looking just at the numbers, right? You're not looking at the nature of the disbursements. You're not looking at compliance with laws and guidelines, like department orders, memorandums, etc. Memoranda.
Yes, Your Honor.
Because that's where your performance audit comes in, which looks at whether the programs are in accordance with principles of economy, efficiency, and effectiveness, and the compliance audit, which looks at whether the disbursements or the nature of the expenses are compliant with laws, rules, and regulations. So I just wanted to align on those before we move forward. So may I come back to that COA statement, please, COMSEC? So I just wanted to highlight on paragraph 4 that it is important to note that the financial statements represent only a facet of the agency, and an audit opinion does not provide any conclusions on the agency's level of compliance with laws, rules, and regulations, or as we mentioned, in terms of the level of economy, efficiency, and effectiveness. So, Ms. Sanchez, siguro yun lang po. I would like to caution lang in terms of, because as we read your statement, I believe what you were implying is since COA issued an unmodified or unqualified opinion to the OVP, what you're implying in your statement is there are no irregularities. We've been rated by COA as we've been given the highest rating by COA. So yun lang po. I just wanted to reiterate that because I've seen also some of the discussions outside of the committee. It seems like some of them want to assert that since the OVP was issued an unmodified opinion, an unqualified opinion, there is no room for irregularities, or there probably are no irregularities. But here I just want to reiterate that having an unmodified
Oy, Swanseng, kung may alam ka na may irregularity ang ginagawa ng ano, kasuhan nyo na at itigil nyo na yung mga ano diyan, mga drama nyo diyan. Kasuhan nyo na kasi hindi naman kayo korte. Wala rin mangyayari diyan. Ubos na nilang pera ng taong bayan. Kasuhan nyo na kung talagang may nagawang ano. O di kaya, kasuhan nyo na mismo. Para hindi na humaba. Huwag na nilang politikahin yan.
or unqualified opinion does not preclude the OVP from having irregularities from the standpoint of the nature of the disbursements, whether these disbursements are legal, whether the intended beneficiaries were actually given the welfare programs, etc. So yun lang po. I just wanted to caution in terms of
Yun lang
very
po, pero hindi na pa rin
liberally
titigil.
using that unmodified opinion as kind of a shield from us doing a lot of the scrutiny
Oh.
in terms of the specific
Eh,
nature
gandahan
of
mo,
the
kasi
disbursement.
nanonood si Tamba
So, yun lang
sa'yo.
po, Attorney Sanchez. Okay. Mr. Chair, I would like to move to the next part of the statement which I would like to ask Attorney Sanchez on. Quote, in addition, since July 2022, the OVP has not received any notice of disallowance nor suspension on the transactions covering the reported beneficiaries and strategic partners. So I would just like to ask, what do you mean by this statement?
Your Honor, if I may continue the statement. In addition, since July 2022, the OVP has not received any notice of disallowance nor suspension on the transactions covering the reported beneficiaries and strategic partners, which are the topics of privilege speech number 379. Your Honor, I am referring to the privilege speech delivered by Honorable Rolando Valeriano of the 2nd District of Manila, wherein he mentioned that there were unverified claims on the number and concentration in terms of location of the beneficiaries of the OVP programs and projects and the number of OVP strategic partners. Your Honor, the numbers that were cited in the privilege speech of Honorable Roland Valeriano are all included in our report to the DBM and the COA. Those numbers correlate to the
Magaling
regular
talaga ito
fund of the
magpaliwanag,
agency.
attorney.
So in terms of the regular fund of the agency, we did not receive any notice of disallowance nor suspension since July 2022 up to the present, Your Honor.
But are you aware of
hindi
the
na sangayon.
AOMs, the audit order memoranda that have been issued by COA to the OVP pertaining to regular funds?
Yes, Your Honor.
May you please let us know how many AOMs have been issued to the OVP, specifically pertaining to regular funds? Kasi alam naman po natin, with regard to confidential funds, there have already been 3 AOMs and 1 notice of disallowance for the confidential funds. But it was revealed to us by COA just during the previous hearing that there are also AOMs. And actually, some of the AOMs pertain to welfare programs. That's why I want to also highlight the statement of yours, Attorney Sanchez, because Mr. Tomawis in the previous hearing said there are like 170 million pesos in question under the AOM for the regular fund pertaining to welfare programs in particular.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Chair, thank you for that clarification, Your Honor. We have around 14 AOMs, but the item that was mentioned earlier, which is the 174 million on welfare goods, I think the auditor was able to clarify that it was a matter of a recommendation to improve internal controls, but there is nothing that is missing or unaccounted for.
Oo.
Mr. Chair, I would just like to flag that
hindi naman
14
sangayon.
AOMs, 14 audit order memoranda issued to the OVP pertaining to regular funds since July 2022 up to present.
That is only for
until end of 2023.
Yes.
Opo. Siguro po kasi it seems to us like you're cherry picking in terms of your statement. Because if there are 14 AOMs, for someone who is not familiar with the extent of the AOMs and the NDs issued by COA to the OVP, magmumukha po kasi na mukhang walang NDs.
Hoy, so ang mga congressman, nagpaliwanag na po ang COA, kaso lang ang problema ayaw niyong pakinggan. Ayaw niyong makinig kasi nga ginagamit niyo sa politiko. Sinabi na ng na walang irregularidad. Wala. As in wala, sabi ng COA. Kaso lang, ang inyo kasi ayaw niyo maniwala. Ang gusto niyo, paniwalaan yung gusto niyo. Yan ang totoo. Ang gusto niyo, sumang-ayon ng kahit na sumang-ayon sa inyo.
AOMs. Kaya yun lang po, it's the way that the statement is worded, because welfare programs in general, some of the welfare programs have been subjected to the AOM.
Yes, that is correct. Mr. Chair, Your Honor. But as mentioned, there is no disallowance on the welfare goods, Your Honor, because nothing is missing. Because if the items are missing, then we would not be able to get
Tama.
an unmodified opinion.
Tama.
Actually po, Mr. Chair,
Ay, hindi
medyo
pa rin sa ngayon.
alarming po yung flinag ni Mr.
Oh.
Tumawis during our previous hearing that what was actually missing for some of the welfare programs were the distribution lists. Or the list of beneficiaries for some of the programs. He mentioned two, disaster operations, I believe, and pagbabago program. So yun po, COA na mismo yung nagsabi, Attorney Sanchez, na merong deficiencies po in terms of the list of beneficiaries.
Ayaw mo lang maniwala.
Mr. Chair,
Oh.
maybe we can refer to the annual audit report for 2023, wherein it states that only the post-activity report, which is a summary of the activity,
Oh, yan.
was lacking, Your Honor.
Ayan.
Mr. Chair, perhaps
di
in
dun
the
sa
next
ngayon.
hearing, maganda po kung mapaghaharap po natin
Tingnan
si
mo.
Attorney Sanchez at Mr.
Talaga
Tumawis,
sa
kasi
ngayon,
po, COA themselves were the ones who said that
Paano kasi ayaw nyo talaga maniwala? Pinipilit nyo. Pinipilit nyo talaga. Ayaw nyo maniwala eh. Ang gusto nyo talaga yung sang-ayon sa inyo. Yung ipapaliwanag sa inyo ang tama, pero ayaw nyo paniwalaan.
there were deficiencies in terms of the distribution lists because of the internal guidelines of the OVP. Sabi nila, for some of the programs, the OVP did not require distribution lists to be created for some of the programs, and that's why there were no distribution lists submitted. So siguro po pagharapin na lang po namin kayo ng COA dahil COA na po mismo yung nagsabi that there are deficiencies in that area. Mr. Chair, I would like to next move to a follow-up question to what Kong Jill asked. Given your position, Attorney Sanchez, you're the Director of Admin and Financial Services. To what extent are you involved in audit proceedings?
In audit proceedings, Your Honor, I am involved in the review and finalization of annual audit memorandum, reply to AOMs, Your Honor.
Pero kanina po, sinabi niyo po kay Kong Jill na hindi po kayo yung nag-reply doon sa AOM. So you're not privy to a particular information that Kong Jill was asking for earlier.
Again, Your Honor, I am only involved in the regular fund, Your Honor, but not in the confidential fund, Your Honor.
So who's handling the response to the AOMs and the NDs, the AOMs on the side of the confidential funds?
Your Honor, I have no personal knowledge, Your Honor, but from what I know, it should be the persons indicated in the AOM. So it would be the special disbursing officer and probably the head of agency, but I have no personal information, Your Honor.
So are you saying, Attorney Sanchez, that within the OVP, the only two people who can give clarifications with regard to the disbursements of the confidential funds are Ms. Gina Acosta and the Vice President herself, just the two of them?
They are the only person that I would presume to have knowledge about the matter, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chair,
Hindi pa tapos.
before I move to the next point, I would like to emphasize that these unqualified or unmodified
daming
opinions do not
daming
bar
kodigo,
us
oh.
from our present inquiry. Just because the the COA issued this does not mean there is no malfeasance, misfeasance, or nonfeasance. If at all, these unqualified
daming
or
ang
unmodified
daming
opinions
kodigo,
by
oh.
the COA merely indicate that the financial statements in
Alam
material
niyo
respects
mga guys, sandali lang, alam niyo mga guys, pagka walang kodigo yan, walang scripted, hindi nila alam sasabihin yan, mga lahat ng pinagsasabi nila. Kaso lang, matagal pang hearing yan, ang bawat isa dyan, may kanya-kanyang scripted na. O ikaw, ikaw, itong para sa iyo lang ha, huwag kang lilihis dyan. Huwag kang lilihis dyan. Kailangan, basahin mo yan ha, ikaw dyan. Kung hindi, mawawala ang bonus mo, malapit ng December. Ha? Ito, ganyan yan. Kaya kanya-kanyang yan kanya-kanyang scripted. Hindi sila makapagtanong yan nang hindi nila babasahin yan. Kasi kanya-kanyang scripted yan. Ganyan lang yan mga guys, mga idol.
are in accordance with financial reporting standards. But such is the nature of fraud or criminal conduct. They normally appear in order until one takes a closer look. At
Sige,
face
basahin mo
value,
na maayos.
everything seems to be in order, but upon closer scrutiny, that's where you see the possible irregularities. And this is precisely what we are doing. To see if the numbers presented by the OVP, though following
Haba ng
accounting
scripted niya, oh.
standards, does not mean they're compliant with
Dami.
existing regulations and laws with regard to the use of the fund. So, Mr. Chair, I would just like to move to my next topic. Ms. Sanchez, as Director of Financial and Administrative Services, to what extent are you involved in the funding and operations of satellite offices?
Mr. Chair, I am involved in I supervise the operation of the budget division, so in terms of preparation of the budget, and as well as in terms of the general services division, the logistics aspect for the operations of the satellite offices, and I am also supervising the human resource development division. So that would be in terms of the personnel requirements of the satellite offices, as well as the accounting and cash division. So for financial requirements of the satellite offices division, Your Honor.
Thank you very much, Attorney. So does that mean that you were involved when the satellite offices were first planned, when they were brainstorming about the establishment of satellite offices? Because you're involved in the budgeting for the SO. So were you there when they were first planning the establishment of satellite offices?
Mr. Chair, Your Honor, I am not with the OVP yet at that time.
Mr. Tenido, if I may ask you, because you've been with the OVP even before 2022, right?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And as part of the budget team, were you there when this first discussion of the satellite offices were done?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So perhaps I may direct my question to you, Mr. Tenido. What was the basis for the establishment of satellite offices?
It was upon the instruction of the top management.
Tama ka,
the OVP services would be
Marte,
extended to certain areas
Nunoy?
nationwide.
Tama po
Mr.
kayo.
Chair.
Dapat
When was the
imbestigahan lahat.
first satellite office open?
Politika yan.
I have
Politika kasi
no
yan.
definite date of which satellite
Investigasyon na yan.
offices
Puro
and,
politika lang yan.
when they went open.
Just the month.
I think
Wala tayong magawa.
there are
Silang
certain satellite offices that open
nasa
in July
kapangyarihan.
2020.
Pero pagdating ng
So
araw,
as soon as
magsisip-sip din
Yes.
yung mga yan.
VP Sara assumed,
Kahit
right?
sino maging
Assumed,
presidente,
her tenure.
magsisip-sip din mga yan.
Mr.
Magbabago
Tenido,
na naman yan. Ganyan yung
were you
ginagawa nila
part
eh.
of the budget process
Taong
for
bayan lang
GAA
kawawa.
2022 for the OVP?
Sorry, Mr. Chair. For the fiscal year 2022.
Fiscal year 2022, which
Yes,
was
Mr.
done in
Chair.
2021.
Yes. Mr. Chair.
Is there a line item in the 2022 GAA for satellite offices?
There is no explicit or line item in 2022 GAA as planned during 2021.
Exactly, because satellite offices were not yet in existence.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So my next question is, where were the funds for the operation?
Palike lang mga guys. Patusok lang please. Saka subscribe na rin kung di pa kayo nakasubscribe. Salamat.
of satellite offices for 2022 sourced? Dahil wala po siya sa GAA 2022, so saan po kinuha yung pondo para sa satellite offices ng 2022?
The operations for satellite offices opened in 2022 was sourced also under the FY 2022 GAA of the OVP.
Under which line item, Mr. Tenido?
That is under the good governance program.
Good governance program. Were there, because there should be a process, right, for having it approved to use the funds specifically allocated
hindi
for
nga
a
alam
different
sasabihin niya.
program
Pag-
for a different program. So was that
nabubulo
transfer
na,
approved?
There were no transfers, ma'am, during that time because under good governance program, it basically covers all the social services, the MAB, just that we have to extend it. So we created the OVP during 2022 created satellite offices just to extend the services of the OVP.
So it's under the good government
Yes, ma'am.
program. Okay.
Mabuti, magagaling ito sumagot eh.
I could direct this question. I'm not sure who has the best knowledge of this, but probably Attorney Sanchez, since you're handling the budgeting and the funding for the satellite offices. Throughout the deliberations, we noticed that what COA kept on saying is that the substantial, actually sometimes the fivefold increase in some of the budget items can be attributed to the satellite offices, the establishment of satellite offices. COA was describing to us last time that the increase in travel expenses were due to the establishment of satellite offices. The additional 60 million in rentals were also attributed to the satellite offices. Even the increase in professional services were attributed to the establishment of satellite offices. So actually that made the committee very curious. How much are we spending in total across the different expense category?
Bakit di nyo tanungin ang sarili nyo? Mas malaki pa ang expenses nyo. Billion. Sa travel expenses. Ba't di nyo tanungin ang sarili nyo?
Towards the satellite offices. So all in po, that includes the rent, the supplies, the travel, the personnel,
Oh,
because it seems to be eating up a huge chunk of the OVP budget. Please give that to us for years 2022, 2023, and 2024. Would you be able to share that information now?
Your Honor, we have the information. May I refer to our budget analyst, Ms. Edeline?
Ms. Rabago?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. For 2023, actual utilization for the satellite offices would be 1.026 billion pesos. And for 2024, as of October 2024, that would be 893.36 million pesos.
Just wanted to clarify that 1 billion, 1.02 billion
Yes,
in 2023, and in 2024,
893.36 million, Your Honor. 893.36 million, Your Honor.
hingin mo na lang kasi yung record sa
do you have
kanya.
the
Hindi
figures for
sulat-sulat ka pa dyan.
2022?
Unfortunately, Mr. Chair, I don't have the details for 2020.
I'm trying to pull up
Oh.
the budget of the OVP. This seems to be, if I'm not mistaken, this is taking up.
Oh. Sige, magtanong ka. Helpline. Basahin mo yung text ni Tamba, oh. Basahin mo. Oh. Oh.
Mr. Chair, just looking at it, it seems to be occupying 60% of the OVP budget, but I just need to quickly check. Comsec, would you happen to have my presentation from the previous hearing?
Frozen Heart. Shout out sa'yo.
I have it now. So, Mr.
Oo,
Chair, for
laro
the
na raw
year
siya. Meron na raw siyang
2023,
text.
the OVP budget,
Oh. Basahin mo. Oh.
Mr. Chair, I'll go back to that point.
Oh. Wala. Wala pa man text sa amin si Tamba dyan? Wala pang text si
Mr.
Tamba?
Chair, I'll come back to that point. I'll just have to very quickly compute the
wala na.
percentage that the satellite offices are taking
Yes,
up.
please.
But
But before you
Oh.
continue, may
Wala kasi sa
recognize the
scripted,
Honorable
kaya
Franz Castro.
hindi niya
Please
matuloy ang
continue.
tanong. Oh. Sabi ko na nga sa inyo eh. Tumigil kasi nawala siya. Antay mo na
Mr.
yung text
Chair,
ni
I'll
Tamba.
come back to that later.
Oh.
But the figures are very
Oh.
staggering. 1
Oh.
billion for 2023
Oh.
and probably going to hit another billion in
Oh.
2024. I'll come back to that, Mr. Chair. We'll just very quickly compute the figures.
Oh.
Let me move, Mr. Chair, to my next topic.
Nawala,
I'd just
nawala.
like to ask Attorney Sanchez again on a
Bawas
different
bonus ka ha.
topic.
Bawat
Attorney
bonus ka.
Sanchez, what is the largest check amount that you have signed off on during your tenure with the OVP?
Mr. Chair, Your Honor, it would be the 125 million pesos for confidential fund, Your Honor.
So 4 times.
Yes, Your Honor.
4 checks worth 125 billion.
Yes,
If
Your
we may please show COMSEC the 4 checks. So this is the first check dated December 20, 2022. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
That's the first. The second check dated January 31, 2023.
Yes, Your Honor.
The third check, April 18, 2023.
Yes, Your Honor.
And the last check being July 13, 2023.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, Attorney Sanchez. Attorney Sanchez, given the large amount and given that these are the highest you've ever signed in terms of the amount, did you hesitate at all to sign these checks?
Your Honor, I did the usual process, which is to review the documents attached to the check, the supporting documents for payment, Your Honor.
So, can you say that you performed the necessary diligence checks prior to signing these?
Yes, Your Honor.
Kasi kung yun yung pinakamalaking mga cheque na pinirmahan mo sa
Pinakamalaking cheque,
Oo.
125 million na. Malaki na ba yun sa inyo?
Tama po ba? Bukod sa OVP?
Yes,
Siguro
sir.
po mas magiging maingat po kayo. Opo. Kasi po, napansin ko lang po, kung titignan po natin, kung ibabangga po natin yung date ng cheque doon po sa disbursement voucher, parang napakabilis po kasi ng processing. So, yun po siguro, kaya doon ko po siguro tatanungin kung nagawa po talaga yung necessary diligence check. So, let me first
Napangiti lang si
go to
attorney, oh.
the first
Napangiti lang.
disbursement voucher. If you may please show that, COMSEC. While we're waiting for it to be flashed, the first disbursement voucher was prepared in December 20. And by the end of the same day, the disbursement voucher was not only certified, verified, and approved, but in fact, the correspondent check amounting to 125 million was already issued and received by the special disbursement officer by the end of the day.
Palike lang mga guys, palike and share lang mga guys para marami makapanood sa kabubuan nitong mga crooks.
So, siguro po, COMSEC, if we may please show the disbursement voucher.
Ngiti-ngiti pa. Ayaw lumabas. Ayaw lumabas kasi kasinungalingan na naman yan. Pati ayaw tanggapin. Ayaw tanggapin ng video.
Thank you very much, Comsec.
Scripted nila.
Here, siguro po kaya ko po tinatanong yung bilis nung pag-process po nung disbursement voucher. Makikita po kasi natin dito, there are a lot of different signatories, a lot of different divisions that it would have to pass through for that check to be issued. So as you can see here, it has to be signed by the Vice President, and then after that, it has to be certified by the Chief Accountant, and then it has to go to the approval of Mr. Ortonio, and then thereafter, at saka lang po pupunta sa...
So, ibig sabihin yan, kaya maraming nakapirma kasi dumaan sa proseso. Yan ang ibig sabihin yan. Kung di ka man naman saksakan ng kabubuan, ganyan ang ibig sabihin yan. Kaya marami ang nakapirma kasi dumaan sa proseso. Hindi nag-iisang tao lang ang dinanan.
Cash division, and then after that, that's when you and Mr. Ortonio would have to sign it. So if you would count it, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 departments that...
Ang ibig sabihin yan, nasala ng maayos. Parang sa tubig ba, paulit-ulit na nasala yan. Ibig sabihin, dumaan ng maayos na proseso kasi marami nakapirma. Ibig sabihin, marami nag-a-approve. Hindi nag-iisang tao lang. Yan ang totoo.
It would have to go through, if that's correct. So it's the Vice President, it's the Office of the Chief Accountant, it's the Office of Mr. Ortonio, it's the Cash Division Office before the two of you sign it. And then only then would the check be released and it would have to be received by the Special Disbursing Officer. So siguro po, given that more than 5 people have to sign off on this document, maybe that's why we call into question the speed by which the disbursement voucher was issued. It was issued on December 20. It went through at least 4 departments, at least 5 signatories, 5 to 6 signatories, and the check was created and signed and released and received all by the end of 1 day. So siguro po, given the staggering amount, this is 125 million pesos we're talking about, Mr. Chair, in check form. May you please explain why it was done so expeditiously? Why there seems to be a rush?
Bakit? Anong gusto mo? Anong gusto mo? Pagpipirma lang, katulad ng ginagawa nyo, kailangan mo na, bago kayo pipirma, merong paabutin pa ng ilang araw o buwan, ay isang pirma lang, para magkaroon kayo ng lagay. Ganun ba? Ganun bang gusto nyo? Bakit kinukusto nyo ang madalian? Ang gusto nyo pala, matagal na trabaho eh. Kaya nga nung panahon ni President Duterte, ginagawa niya sa mga OFW isang one stop shop, yun, parang ganun. Kasi nga para hindi mahirapan yung mga tao. Ang gusto niyo kasi pang matagalan, para pahirapan yung mga tao para kumita kayo. Bakit ayaw nyo sa mabilis? Ang gusto niyo pala matagal pa. Ito, kinu-question yung bakit daw mabilis, masyado yung pagpipirma. Ano bang gusto nyo? Paabuti ng isang kontrata. Bago pirma lang naman. Kung tama naman pinirma, bakit patagal mo pa kung tama rin ang pipirmahan?
Before you answer, Attorney Sanchez, let me go back and give the case in point for the second disbursement voucher. This one is dated January 31. Same thing. It went through 4 different departments, 5 to 6 different signatories, and all of that was done. The disbursement voucher was created, certified, approved, sent to the cash division, check issued, check signed, check released, check received, all in 1 day on January 31. So 2 cases.
Ayaw mo ba yun? Ayaw mo pa ba yung 1 day lang? Ang gusto niyo pala matagal. Bakit kinukusti mo yung mabilis na na trabaho? Ang gusto niyo matagal. Talagang congressman talaga.
In point, if if I may pause here, Mr. Chair, and throw the question to Attorney Sanchez and Ms. Villa del Rey, given that you are two of the signatories appearing in these two documents. Bakit po ang bilis? 125 million pesos po yung amount na pinag-uusapan natin. Pero para pong nagmamadali na ma-issue yung cheque, magawa yung disbursement voucher, ma-issue yung cheque, ma-receive ng Special Disbursement Officer. Lahat po sa iisang araw.
Sige, paliwanag mo, madam.
Mr. Chair, may I be recognized?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Attorney Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, it is actually a common process for the OVP to process cash advances within 1 day. We prioritize cash advances as a generally, Mr. Chair. The way our office is organized, Mr. Chair, is that the accounting and cash divisions are close to each other. So
yan.
it would not take several hours for the documents to reach the cash division.
Hindi kasi sanay sila sa mga ganyan na mabilisan. Ang gusto nila, nasanayan nila, may lagay mo na bago magpirma. Kaya nagtaka itong Guansing na ito. Nagtaka siya. Ayaw niya, mabilis na trabaho. Ang gusto nila, bago magpirma, siguro, parang meron ba sa akin dyan? Di umano. Baka ganun siguro ang gusto nila.
And my office is also just
Sige,
near
paliwanag mo,
the
attorney.
cash division and the accounting divisions, Your Honor, because they are under my office. So in terms of processing, there is nothing unusual for us to be able to process cash advances within 1 day. In fact, in our Citizens Charter, for internal services for cash advances, our usual turnaround time is 1 to 2 days, Your Honor. Also, for the
Mabilis na trabaho sila.
cash advance for confidential funds, there are just a few documentary requirements which are required to be attached to the disbursement voucher. And so it's not very difficult to browse through the documentary requirements, Your Honor.
Thank you, Attorney Sanchez. May we please pose the same question, Mr. Chair, to Ms. Villa del Rey. Before you certified it po,
Miss Villa del Rey, you are recognized.
what diligence checks did you do?
Yung king. Just out sa
Upon receipt of the disbursement voucher for the issuance of confidential fund, Your Honor, we check the required documents under the joint
Salamat.
circular. If it is complete, we already, if it is complete with all the documentary requirements, I certify the portion which is the Annex B of the DB. I'll check the cash availability and check the completion of the supporting documents. And then after that, we transfer it to the cash division.
Mr. Chair, siguro yun po,
Oh.
given the amount in question, sinabi
tingnan
po
mo.
niya,
Tingnan mo, hindi siya sang-ayon. Hindi siya sang-ayon. Ayun yung, hanggat hindi kayo sumang-ayon sa kanya, kahit anong ganda ng paliwanag nila, ay hindi talaga sang-ayon. Kaya walang patutunguhan talaga ito. Kasi kahit na alam nilang tama ang paliwanag, at hindi sang-ayon sa kanila, sa kanilang kagustuhan, hindi talaga sila sasang-ayon. Kaya, ang hirap talaga nito.
Attorney Sanchez, 1 to 2 days. Kaya po, bakit tinapos lahat ng 1 day? Tinitignan ko po,
Tingnan mo, ayaw niya ang 1 day. Ano pa lang gusto mo? Ano pa lang gusto mo? Isang pirma lang, aabutin ng 1 taon. Bago ka magpirma. Bubang tang babae na ito eh. Ano pa lang gusto mo? Isang pirma lang, aabutin pa ng 1 taon. O di kaya may lagay mo na.
The dates would be December 20, 2023. That's Thursday. Kaya po ba hinapol? That's a Wednesday. Kaya po ba hinapol? Kasi gusto niyo po ma-encash by the end of the week? Ganun po ba yun?
Mr. Chair, hindi naman po sa hinabol, but
Oh,
as a matter of course, kapag may cash advance po, we read
sa utak mo lang yan, Swansea, hinabol. Kasi hindi kayo sanay. Ang gusto nyo lang, bago kayo pumirma, may malutong pa siguro. Yan ang hinantayin nyo.
generally prioritize, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Mr. Chair. Thank you. If I may move, Mr. Chair, to the fourth disbursement voucher. If COMSEC may please show us. Siguro po here, apart from the speed by which it was issued, perhaps the most glaring, the fourth one po. Thank you, COMSEC. Perhaps the most glaring thing that I would like to note here is at the bottom left corner, you would see that there is no signature under the receipt of payment, meaning the special disbursing officer did not sign that and attest that she received the check. So siguro po, tatanungin ko po, Mr. Chair, ang OVP, paano po nangyari to? Isang 125 million pesos na cheque na hinayaan lang po natin na makalusot yung disbursement voucher nang hindi po pumipirma yung special disbursing officer na nagpapatunay na natanggap niya po yung cheque para sa 125 million pesos. Sino po ang nag-check ng mga disbursement vouchers natin? Ms. Villa del Rey, as the accountant, is that not under your purview to make sure?
Kayo nga, wala nag-check sa inyo. Mga ano dyan, walang check sa inyo dyan. Tapos, kumbaga sa ano, manalamin muna kayo.
That these documents are in order po?
Your Honor, for the Annex E, which is the receipt of the check, it is the responsibility of the cash division for the issuance of the check to the SDO or to the payee of the disbursement voucher.
Opo, Mr. Villadere, hindi po siya sa issuance of the check. It's the receipt. It's the attestation that the that the check has been received by the SDO.
Yes, Your Honor, the receipt of the check. Once receipt ng check po, the claimant or the payee of the DB should sign at the bottom part of the disbursement voucher. So it is the responsibility of the other division who handle the issuance of check.
Ma'am,
Oh, yan.
pakilapit niyo po. Hindi po kayo marinig.
Yes, again, Your Honor, it is the responsibility of the division who issued the check to the claimant to have it signed.
Wala pong nakapansin na hindi po na-receive ng SDO, hindi po din-receive ng SDO yung disbursement voucher.
No,
Yun lang po, Mr. Chair. Perhaps the correct person to ask is not here with us today. So maybe what I would like to
Tama ka,
highlight here
Filomena,
is
tama
there
ka.
may be some lapses in the internal controls of the Office of the Vice President. If the release of the checks, in terms
Tama
of
po kayo.
looking at the disbursement vouchers and the checks are not scrutinized thoroughly by the OVP. Ganito po kalaki, as described by Attorney Sanchez, this is the biggest check she has ever signed off on. Pero may problema po sa internal controls dahil po nakakalusot yung mga ganitong lapses na hindi po na a-attest ng SDO na
Ikaw, hinatulan mo na lapses. Paano mo sabing lapses? Sa isip mo lang yan.
release po yung funds. Last question po, before I move on, may I ask po, sorry, cash division. Naisip ko lang po, hindi po ba under you po yun, yung cash division, Attorney Sanchez? So actually, you're here to be able to answer that question. That should be your responsibility to check po.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, when I check, there are 3 copies of the disbursement vouchers and only 1 copy is required to be signed by the SDO. SDO, the copy that was signed by the SDO was actually retained by the accounting division. And it may not be the same copy that was forwarded to the resident auditor. Nonetheless, we have a copy that was actually signed by the special dispersing officer. In addition, Mr. Chair, as to the matter of internal controls, in addition to the disbursement voucher, there is an additional control in place that requires the special disbursing officer to sign the warrant of checks. There is a logbook of the checks that is released by the cash division. And as far as I am aware, Your Honor, she was able to sign that warrant of checks.
Given that that's the
Hindi
copy
pa rin
that was
maniwala. Ayaw
furnished
pa
to
rin.
COA, may please furnish this committee with that copy that you're talking about that's signed by, is that Ms. Acosta who signed it?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Please furnish a copy to this committee.
We will do, Mr. Chair.
And Mr. Chair, since Ms. Acosta is not here, I would like to ask a resource person present here. Would anyone know whether the SDO has a bond? Meaning Ms. Acosta has a bond, and if yes, how much? Ms. Villa del Rey, as the chief accountant, would you know?
Yes. Your Honor, for the band of Ms. Acosta, the amount of band is 8 million for 3 years, Your Honor. It was released through a confirmation letter on November 3, 2022.
8 million lang po yung bond niya?
That is the amount of band for a maximum amount of accountability, 500 million, Your Honor.
Mr. Chair, do we know what salary grade Ms. Acosta is? Would anyone know on the part of the OVP? Kasi ang laki po nung 500 million po yung maximum.
Your Honor, her position and at salary grade 24. 24, Your Honor.
Mr. Chair, for someone who is occupying a salary grade 24 position, 500 million pesos seems to be a huge amount to give in terms of accountability, Mr. Chair. So we just wanted to note that, Mr. Chair, for the record of the committee, that...
Bakit ingit ka? Bakit ingit ka na naman sa 500 million ang salary, samantala ikaw 300,000 lang, more or less. Magtrabaho ka ng ganoon kung gusto mo naingit ka. Tingnan mo, ingit na naman siya. Tingnan, laking pera yun ah. Laking pera yun ah. Laking sweldo noon ah. Baka naman. Mga crocs.
Ms. Gina Acosta actually can disburse up to 500 million pesos as the special disbursing officer. And Mr. Chair, balik lang po ako before I end doon po sa kanina with regard to the satellite offices. So if we compute what percentage the satellite offices take up in terms of the expenses of the OVP. So for 2023, the total GAA amount, the total budget for the OVP is 2.3 billion pesos. And since 1.02 billion pesos po yung expenses associated with the satellite offices, it takes up 45% of the total expenses of the OVP. For the year 2024, so far, out of the 1.9 billion pesos funds of the OVP, the 893 million expenses for the OVP translates to 48% of the total budget of the OVP, Mr. Chair. So napakalaki po talaga, halos kalahati ng the OVP budget yung tinitake up.
Napakalaki ang budget ng OVP. Bakit hindi yung bang 1.4 billion na flood control sa araw-araw? Maliit lang yan. Hindi yan isang buwan o ilang araw. Isang araw-araw daw ayon kay Villanueva, Senator Villanueva. 1.4 billion kada araw. Yan, maliit sa inyo yan. Hindi nyo pinag-uusapan. Tapos ang daming binaha sa Bicol, Batangas, daming namatay ng mga tao. Hindi nyo pinag-uusapan yan. Wala kayong pakialam doon kasi wala naman kayong ano doon, walang utos sa inyo.
Na satellite offices. So we really need to do a close scrutiny as to whether these satellite offices are necessary and whether they actually contribute to the OVP in terms of fulfilling its mandate, Mr. Chair. So, Mr. Chair,
Kung tutusin nga, ang dapat pinag-uusapan nyo ngayon, yung nangyari sa Bicol, maraming namatay, kung saan napuntang pera ng flood control, dapat yan ang pinag-uusapan niyo. Pero bakit puro Sara? Walang katapusan Sara Duterte ang pinag-uusapan niyo. Sa tingin niyo ba yung paninira yung ganyan ay maapektuhan? Lalo pa yan si Sikat kasi siya ang laging pinag-uusapan. Imbis na hindi kilala ng tao, lalong nagkikilala ng tao. Hindi naman naniniwala sa inyo. Saka isa pa, hindi lahat ng mga tao may social media. Wala silang kaalam-alam sa mga pinagsasabi nyo. Bukod pa ron, may hindi naman nakakaintindi ng English kayo ng English dyan. Pilipino naman kayo lahat. Para lang ano yan, parang show off lang.
those are my questions po. Thank you very much, Ms. Villa del Rey, Attorney Sanchez, Mr. Tenido,
tumigil ka
and
na.
Ms. Chabago for allowing me to propound questions. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Hirit pa yan mga guys. Pag may nagsasalita, sisingit pa yan.
Yes, the next interpellator is Congressman Asidre. You're recognized.
Magandang hapon po, Mr. Chair. Nais ko pong magtanong kay Attorney Rosaline Sanchez. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yes,
Attorney Sanchez, ikaw po ay isa sa mga approving officers ng fidelity bonds, tama po ba?
yes, Mr. Chair.
Kailan po kayo naging approving officer ng mga fidelity bonds?
Mr. Assumption to office, Mr. Chair.
Kailan po ito?
July 9, 2022, Mr. Chair.
2022. Attorney Sanchez, siguro pamilyar naman kayo sa purpose ng fidelity bonds, no? Ito ay to ensure against losses, shortages, defalcation by officers or employees accountable for public funds. Tama po ba?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
In other words, ito ay to ensure na gagamitin sa tama at sa mga specified purposes lamang yung public funds na inassign sa kanila. Tama po ba?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So, Attorney Sanchez, can you walk us through the process of the fidelity bonds? Who determines po ba the value of the fidelity bond to be posted by the concerned government employee?
That would be based, Your Honor, on the amount of the liability, the cash advance that would be issued to the Special Disbursing Officer, Your Honor.
So, wala pong guidelines, formula na meron pong guidelines,
May
formula.
matrix po yung Bureau of Treasury, Your Honor. And we provide them with a copy of the special order of the disbursing officer, Your
Okay.
Honor.
So, kung may amount na ni-sinet for the fidelity bond, ano pong sunod? Yung government employee concerned would post the bond?
That would be the agency, Your Honor, through the accounting division.
Pero manggagaling po yung pera sa
The agency, Your Honor.
agency,
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor.
hindi sa empleyado.
Hindi po.
So, paano po sila check or cash? Paano yun?
As far as I recall, Your Honor, for the payments to the Bureau of Treasury, it is through LDDAP ATA, so fund transfer, Your Honor, to the Bureau of Treasury.
Pero sino yung tumatanggap ng bond? Si Treasury
Yes, Your Honor.
from you.
Yes,
In this case, for all the accountable officers, kayo yung nag-post ng bond.
yes, Your Honor.
Kayo yung nag-transfer ng bond sa Treasury.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, pag natanggap ng Treasury yung bond, anong ginagawa dito? Pinapasok ba to sa isang account? At kaninong bank account? Separate ba to sa regular account ng agency or dun sa Treasury mismo?
Sa Treasury yun mismo, Mr. Chair.
In a separate in a separate account?
I have no information, Your Honor, kung anong
So how
The
long
process
will the
of Bureau
bond
of
be held
Treasury.
by the Treasury? Hanggang kailan hawak ng Treasury yung bond?
uh, the bond is for a certain period, Your Honor, and for Ms. Acosta, the bond was for a period of 3 years.
Okay. So, paano po siya, anong mangyayari after 3 years? Na babalik sa agency.
Wala na, Your Honor.
So, nawawala lang yung bond.
Yes, the bond is meant para po siyang
Okay.
insurance, Your Honor.
So, yun ay nasa Treasury na.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, hindi siya i-release balik sa agency na pinanggalingan.
No, Your Honor.
Okay. So, ang kanina na-mention na si Miss Gina Acosta, magkano nga po ang authority niya to release?
500 million, Your Honor.
Pero magkano ang bond niya?
8 million, Your Honor.
8 million. Yung 8 million na yon, ang premium magkano?
Your Honor, I will just confirm based on the documents, Your Honor. Your Honor, we will check the amount that we transferred to the Bureau of Treasury, Your Honor. If we can, Your Honor, maybe just be allowed to submit a copy of the funding.
Meron akong dito data, baka pareho tayo ng data. It's 360,000 ang binayaran na premium, bond premium.
We will check, Your Honor, from our records.
In any case, ma'am, do you confirm na ito ang nagbabayad, hindi yung empleyado, ang nagbabayad dito yung agency?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is this standard procedure po?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, base dun, kasi we have a similar case, no? In the SDO also for DepEd, si Mr. Fajarda, Edward, he has the maximum authority to withdraw cash in the maximum amount of 50 million. Tapos, ang bond niya is 4 million lamang. Well, it's almost the same as with Miss Gina Acosta. Hindi ba dapat proportionate ang bond sa cash advance na dapat pwede niyang ma-withdraw? Di ba?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, paano ganito ang nangyari po kay Miss Acosta at kay sabihin na lang kay Edward Fajarda na wala pang 1/4 yung halaga ng ban niya sa total amount na may authority siya to withdraw.
Your Honor, we just base it on the matrix provided by the Bureau of Treasury, Your Honor.
Pwede kaya nating sabihin, Attorney Fajarda, Mr. Chair, na itong matrix na to, sabihin na lang natin, depending on your expert opinion, having been in this position for quite some time, na dahil ganito ang matrix, hindi nagiging effective na deterrent yung bond requirement, especially for special dispersing officers. Kasi tutusin, di ba? Hindi naman ganun yung kalaki yung bond mo, tas ganun kalaki yung pera na hawakan mo. Tama po, would you agree with me?
Your Honor, my understanding is that the purpose of the bond is to cover the liability or accountability of the special dispersing officer in case there would be irregularities in the use of the fund, Your Honor.
Tama, I agree with you. Kaya nga kung titignan natin, like for example, nung previous hearing, nakasama yung mga kaibigan natin mula sa AFP, no, na sinabi nila wala naman silang natanggap na pera from the YLS. Pwede nating masabi na okay lang na hindi gamitin for public funds yung pera kasi total hindi naman, dahil mababa naman yung bond requirement, wala naman technically mawawala sa agency o ano man. Kaya ang chances ng technical malversation mas mataas. Kasi hindi nga effective deterrent yung bond requirement para isipin ng mga tao na, especially for accountable officers, na wag natin gawin to kasi this is the bond requirement involved. Kasi kung titignan mo, kahit nga sa kanina pa, siguro the same observation ni Congresswoman Swansing, no? Napakalaki ng authority na cash advance. Tapos ang bond requirement, 8 million lang. Yung kay Mr. Fajardo, 50 million, 4 million lang ang bond requirement. As the head director for accounting, don't you think that we need to increase the matrix for fidelity bond requirement so that it becomes more effective as a deterrent for malversation?
Your Honor, as to that matter, I would submit to the wisdom of the Bureau of Treasury, Your Honor.
No, I mean, sa'yo, based on your experience, don't you think there's a need to increase this? So that, anyway, this is in aid of legislation, no? So we can also propose it to the Bureau of Treasury later on to review the matrix for setting fidelity bonds, the fidelity bond requirement. Would you agree with me na sobrang baba ng ating hinihingi for fidelity bond requirement despite the amounts in consideration?
I would agree, Your Honor.
Thank you, Attorney. Attorney, babalikan ko lang yung statement mo kanina. Kasi medyo na-intriga ako sa statement mo. How long have you been with OVP? Since 2022? Correct?
July 19, 2022, Your Honor.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, yung COA report, you mentioned kasi dito for the years 2022 and 2023, the OVP has received unmodified or unqualified opinions in COA's annual audit reports. Correct me if I'm wrong, the 2022 COA report referred to expenditures incurred in 2021. Tama po ba?
Your Honor, I was referring to the 2022 annual year 2022, Your Honor.
Okay. So hindi siya audit report for 2022. Audit report siya for expenses in 2022.
Yes, Your Honor.
So ito siya, yung 2020, hindi siya 2021, hindi siya COA report for 2021.
No, Your Honor.
Merong isa dito na point na sinabi mo, the COA evidence-based reports on the financial financial position of the OVP for the years 2022 and 2023 shows the OVP's commitment to transparency and accountability based on existing audit and accounting rules and regulations. Tanong ko po, bilang isang career official, don't you think that the ability of career officials to demonstrate or to realize their commitment would also depend on the willingness of the principal to enforce the same? Kasi nakailang VP na po kayo.
Your Honor, I only joined the OVP during the term of Vice President Sara Duterte.
Si Julieta po yung 7 VPs.
Yes, Your
Ma'am,
Honor.
don't you think for this, no, as career officers, don't you think that despite your willingness to submit to accounting rules and regulations, malaki pa rin ang role ng principal? It really depends on the principal. In the end, it depends on the willingness of the principal to enforce the same. Having been a part of the OVP for the longest time.
No, Your Honor, kasi ang processing po in compliance with existing rules and regulation on the disbursements of fund is not based on the decision of the head of the agency, Your Honor.
But the decision to have confidential funds eventually is the decision of the principal, right?
I think so, Your Honor.
In which case, previous vice presidents did not have or choose not to have access to confidential funds, practically for the reason that it would have demonstrated more accountability and transparency if they use regular MOOP or other regular funds. For items that we consider ba?
Hindi ko po siya masasagot, Your Honor.
Pero sabihin na lang natin na kung gumamit na lang ng regular fund sources, o yung ginamit at hindi confidential funds, mas madedemonstrate natin ang sinasabing commitment natin to. Maraming salamat po.
you, Congressman Asidre. The next interpellator is Congresswoman Franz Castro.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Magandang hapon po sa ating mga resource person. Kanina kasi tinatanong ni Kong Asidre, Mr. Chair, about kay Attorney Sanchez. July 2022 ka, napasok po sa OVP. Saan po kayo galing?
I am from the Commission on Audit, Your Honor.
Okay. Sa Commission on Audit. Thank you po. Yung first topic ko po, Mr. Chair, ay yung tungkol doon sa pagbabudget. So sa budget muna tayo, no? Noong 2022, involved ba kayo, Mr. Chair, sa ating dalawang budget, sa budgeting ng Office of the Vice President buo noong 2022? Kailan kayo napasok po sa...
I've been with the OVP since 2014.
Okay. How about Ma'am Edeline?
I have been with OVP since 2017.
Okay, so matagal na kayo, no, sa OVP. So na-involve kayo doon sa pagbabudget ng 2022 budget ng Office ng Vice President. Syempre galing ito sa 2021 na budgeting, 'di ba? Yung 2022 budget ginawa 'yan ng 2021. Okay, so yung mga so ang ibig sabihin ng Mr. Chair, budgeting na yan, wala pang confidential funds noon.
Wala po. During preparation ng FY 2022 budget on FY 2021, wala pong confidential funds.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. And then, nung naging VP na si Vice President Sara Duterte, noong July 1, at nag-request siya ng confidential funds for the Office of the Vice President, na-consult ba ang budget unit?
Yes, ma'am. We were consulted insofar as the preparation of the request letter is concerned.
What request letter?
During that time, ma'am,
Yung request letter to the Office of President?
to
Ganun
the
ba yun?
DBM po.
To the DBM. Okay. So, well, doon po sa preparation ng letters, so syempre, nag-request ng budget, 125 for confidential funds. Pero alam niyo po, saan gagamitin itong confidential funds? As far as budget unit is concerned.
Doon lang po siya activity na safe implementation of OVP programs and projects and confidence building.
Pero that time, ano po ba yung mga nakalagay doon sa sulat? Kasi nakita ko naman yung sulat ng request ng Office of the Vice President to the DBM, yung request ng budget for 125, yung attached. Ano nga yung mga activities na yun? Can you enumerate, Mr. Chair?
Wala po. Mr. Chair, doon po sa letter, can I just read the portion of the letter, ma'am?
Yeah.
Confidential funds for and in consideration of the safe implementation of the various projects and activities under the Good Governance Program and the conduct of official engagements and functional representation in international and domestic events as instructed by the President. The CF amount of 250 million is hereby requested.
Yeah, yung 250 million ang request, pero ang nag-grant ay 125.
That's correct po, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Okay. Pero yung mga, Mr. Chair, yung mga projects and programs na yon under yung 125 million, mga project pa ito which was conceptualized during the Vice President Robredo, right? O meron siyang ipinasa si Vice President Duterte na iba pang mga programs that would cover yung confidential funds?
Insofar as the projects, ma'am, I think I would say the projects of the then Vice President and the new Vice President during that time is almost similar. These are all social services, medical and burial, the livelihood, the disaster operations, and the likes.
Yes. Okay. So ibig sabihin wala siyang idinagdag na programs aside from doon sa which was budgeted during the time ng 2021?
Yes, and as far as I recall, ma'am, wala naman pong unique or kakaiba na ginawa during the second period.
Yes, so Mr. Chair, ang tanong ko, ang sunod na tanong ko, di ba kayo nagtaka? Kasi during the stint of the Vice President Robredo, wala siyang confidential funds in implementing the various projects, no? Pero ito, last quarter na nga lang ay nag-request pa ng confidential funds. Did you not question it?
No, ma'am. However, in every implementation of programs, part of the to ensure the successful implementation is the peace and order or security. That's my personal opinion.
Yes.
As budget officer.
Oo, kung titignan natin yung security, peace and order security, magbigay ka nga ng example ng project noong panahon ni Vice President Robredo na sinasabi mo ay peace and order security. Kasi katulad nito, yung program ng Vice President ni VP Sara.
Oh, nandito naman
sa
itong
Sakay, or
itong
sa
convicted.
kasi dito sa Quezon City,
Oh,
massive yung libreng sakay. Pero
tingnan mo naman ito. Ang kapal ng muka. As in, ang kapal ng muka. Convicted na ito, convicted. Convicted na ito. Pero ang kapal ng muka mamuna. Nasaan bang muka nito? Ito mga guys, tumatakbo pa ito ng ng senador. Ito, tumatakbo pa ito. Ang kapal ng muka. Mangustyon sa VP. Samantala siya convicted. Bakit kasi hindi pa nakulong ito? Convicted na ito eh.
ko naman, di naman niyang ginamitan ng confidential fund
Oh.
ng LGU, no? Through Mayor Belmonte. Pero ito, magbigay ka nga ng example ng panahon ni Robredo, Mr. Chair, na
Oy, wag mong i-compare si Robredo kasi si Robredo kakampi nyo. Tsaka wala namang alam yon. Kundi lugaw-lugaw lang. Bakit di ko compare mo si Sara? Si Sara ay ang tagal naging mayor. Iko-compare mo sa trabaho ni Robredo. Pa-picture-picture lang. At saka ikaw mismo, convicted ka eh. Kapal na mukha nito. Magpaliwanag, magtanong.
sabi mo na kailangan ng peace and order, pero hindi naman nagkaroon ng amount ng confidential funds para to implement it successfully.
Well, during the time of Vice President, I'm not saying po na may component ng security or peace and order, but heavily focused po sila talaga sa developmental works and partnership. Hence, nagkaroon po nung COVID operation at the latter part of her term po.
Yes, okay. Tama. And syempre, yung alam naman natin yung confidential funds, di ba? It's a fund na pag-gather ng mga confidential information, di ba? Kung may sakali, tsaka kung sakaling may problema sa security and others. Pero kung titignan natin, Mr. Chair, malaking kaibahan talaga, no? Na kung sakaling kumbaga etong panahon ni Presidente Vice President Duterte, Sara Duterte, may ganito kalaki, no, na confidential funds na ginamit dun sa program. So would you know ano kaya yung ano mga programs dito o lahat ba ng programs ng OVP nung panahon ni Sara Duterte dun sa 125, anong mga programs doon yung ginamitan ng confidential funds? Kasi sinasabi mo, Mr. Chair, sinasabi ng ating resource person na parehas lang naman, no? Kung ano yung project ni Vice President Robredo noong 2022, yun din naman yung ipinatupad ni Sara Duterte. So, ano-ano dito yung mga programs na ginamitan ng security and
Apologies, Mr. Chair, but I have no knowledge po on the utilization of the confidential fund.
well, I I beg to disagree, Mr. Chair. Hindi ko tinatanggap yung sagot. Kasi budget officer ka, nag-request kayo ng letter for 250 million confidential funds, 125 yung ginrant, Mr. Chair. Pero dapat ang budget, alam nyo kung saan niya gagamitin yung 125. Kasi, Mr. Chair, talagang dito kasi, nung nagkaroon na ng audit, di ba, dinis-allow yung 73 million. So, dapat ini-insure ng budget na yung mga paggagamitan nito ay itemized at alam nyo kung saan gagamitin. So, don't you think you are accountable to this? Kasi parang pinabayaan nyo lang na mag-budget ng 125 na hindi nyo naman alam saan gagamitin yan. Kasi reward payment, 10 million, disallowed. Payment for various goods, 34.8 million, disallowed. Payment for reward and medicine, 24.9 million, disallowed. So, yung mga 3 million for tables, computers, and disallowed. So, bakit pinayagan ng budget unit ng OBP na may ganito na wala man lang justification?
Ma'am, if I may, Mr. Chair, yung participation po ng budget division, mahabang proseso po yung pag-request ng CF to paano nagkaroon ng cash advance hanggang mag-grant ng cash advance hanggang mag-utilize po siya and hanggang ma-liquidate.
Hindi, yes. Ang pinag-usapan lang natin yung cover ng inyong responsibility as budget.
Okay, ma'am.
Kaya ang tanong ko sa budget unit ng Office of the Vice President, upon request, pag nag-request kayo, may mga justification kayo, di ba? Sa confidential fund. Ayan, nakalagay kasi sa Mr. Chair, sa JC, kung saan lang pwedeng gamitin yung confidential funds. At yan ay naka-itemize yan talaga. At strictly, doon lang talaga gagamitin. Kahit na sinasabing for reward, for, ano pa ba yun? For buying of information, for other supplies, etc. Dapat merong merong itemization.
Ma'am, wala po siya, hindi po siya available at the time nung nag-request na po ng cash advance. Ang attachment na lang po nung request for the cash advance ng CF is the Physical and Financial Plan which was also submitted to DBM during the time of request ng OVP to DBM.
So don't you think it's anomalous or error or talagang sa umpisa pa lang ng concept ng pagre-request niyo ng reward ay ng confidential funds, sa tingin niyo sa level niyo pa lang ay parang mali na? Kasi alam ko, Mr. Chair, wala si Mr. Chair. So, alam ko, Mr. Chair, napakahigpit natin doon sa pagbabudget. Talagang binubusisi natin saan siya talaga gagamitin. Pero dito sa confidential funds, parang naging lenient ba tingin niyo ang unit ng budget?
Ma'am, kasi yung signature, yung Physical and Financial Plan po, signed by the accountable officer, noted by the Finance Service Director, and then signed by the Vice President. So we merely relied po dun sa content ng Physical and Financial.
Ano ba nakalagay sa Physical and Financial Plan? Ano-anong mga activities yun? Na bigla kayong na-convince na kailangan nito ng confidential funds. Kailangan nito na makapag-hire tayo ng mga informant. Mag-ano ng safe houses.
Ma'am, yung under PEP po na Good Governance Program, Mr. Chair, and then yung next column po niya, expected outcome is safe implementation of OVP initiatives and confidence building. And then yung portion...
Anong particular na yun? OVP, OVP. Anong particular na activity yun para mapatupad yung sinasabi niyong programs and projects?
OVP initiatives pertains po dun sa mga projects na ini-implement po during that time, ma'am.
Dun sa fourth quarter?
Upon the assumption of the Vice President, ma'am.
Hindi, kasi ito, fourth quarter itong pinag-uusapan natin eh. Anong mga programs ng OVP, Mr. Chair, yung tinutukoy na magwawarrant ng 125 million na confidential funds. Ano-ano to?
Based on the PFP, ma'am, the Physical and Financial Plan, it's only the Good Governance Program.
Under sa good governance program.
Puro
Ano-ano to, mga
confidential
Wala
fund.
na po
Puro
nakaspecify
confidential
na
fund.
specific
Walang
line.
katapusan.
Well, so Mr. Chair, no, doon pa lang talagang nakikita na natin, no, talagang very lenient.
Ano? Ano, convicted?
Hindi naka-specify. 125 yan, Mr. Chair. So, hindi ba
125 yan, Mr. Chair. Ay ako ay convicted. Bakit di pa ako nakakulong? Bakit di ka pa nakakulong? Convicted ka na. 125 million. Convicted ako. Ako hindi ako nakakulong. Ako isang convicted na.
na-realize ng office ng yung unit ng budget na napakalaking halaga? Don't you think you are accountable dito? Kasi, Mr. Chair, dahil meron ng notice of disallowances, don't you think you are accountable?
Ikaw, hindi ka accountable. Convicted ka na sa pagngingitap ng mga bata. Di umano. Hindi ka ba accountable? Ito, convicted na talaga ito eh. Malakas ng loob pa, tatakbo ng senador ito. Itong 2015.
To this? Kung sakali na hindi ito ma-justify at ito nga nakikita na natin yung mga misuse nito. Don't you think, Mr. Kevin, you are accountable to this? Kasi part ka nung nagpirma dun sa mga budget na yan.
Based po dun sa joint circular, the accountability of accountable officer would depend dun sa degree of participation.
Yeah. Okay. So, ikaw, tingin mo ba may accountability ka rito?
Well, ma'am, as a budget officer, yung pinirmahan ko po is na sinecertify ko po na may allotment na na-receive ang OVP insofar as confidential expense is concerned, ma'am. Which na-release naman po yung SARO. So that's my basis po to sign na may...
How about yung accountability mo nung hindi mo ginamit yung iyong alam ang tawag dito?
Ano? Ano?
Yung discernment or
Ano?
yung inyong pag-analyze.
Ano?
saan
Convicted?
gagamitin
Ano?
Ito. Kasi doon pa lang talaga magsisimula yung pag-grant. Otherwise, hindi na grant ito kung nabusisi mo ng husto o nabusisi ng husto ng budget unit ng OVP ang paggagamitan nito. Remember 11 days lang ito na na-implement itong mga programs na ito.
125 million convicted. Ikaw, Castro, 125 million ng 11 days. Pero yung 1.4 billion isang araw o kada araw, maliit ba yun sa'yo? Kaya halatang lang kayo paninira lang kayo 125 million, 2023 pa ba yan? O 23 o 22? Yung kinu-question nyo na yan, na 125 million, di na matigil-tigil hanggang sa katapusan ng mundo. Pero yung 1.4 billion na araw-araw na ginagastos ng gobyerno, hindi nyo tinatanong. 1.4 billion flood control kada araw. Tapos ang dami namatay sa Bicol. Nasaan ang flood control? Nasaan ang flood control doon? Hindi nyo inimbestigahan yan. Kasi nga, puro politiko lang yan. Okay. Convicted.
5 activities, no, nakalagay dito, no, na inatenan mismo ng Vice President. Ano-ano itong mga 105 activities na nakalagay diyan? Nakita mo ba to? Yung 105 activities, saan?
No, Mr.
Paano? O, di ba? So talagang tingin ko, Mr. Chair, meron ding pananagutan dito, no, yung budget unit dahil sa pag-approve, no, o yung pag-certify na merong budget na na-request, no, sa kung saan man yan na-request, no, sa Office of the President, etc. Okay, next, Mr. Chair, thank you, Sir Kevin. Dito po, Mr. Chair, sa notice of disallowance, naka-attention po dito, Mr. Chair, si Ma'am Julieta Villa del Rey. Tama po ba? Nakita niyo po ba itong August 8, 2024 na ND?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. So, as a chief accountant, ano po yung papel ninyo po sa confidential funds?
As Chief Accountant, Your Honor, I ensure in the processing of issuance of cash advance, I ensure that it is covered by allotment, it is covered by approved banding. There is a special order that designating the special disbursing officer. I think
So, okay, dito kasi, dito kasi Mr. Chair, sa notice of disallowance, na may attention si si Chief Accountant Villa Del Rey, you were asked, you were directed by the COA, since you are liable,
Palike lang mga guys, saka subscribe na rin.
nakalagay kasi dito, no?
Para kumalat
may I
itong
read?
katarantaduan
Please
ni
direct
convicted
the
na ito.
aforementioned persons
Likes lang mga guys.
liable to settle immediately
Oh, kala
the
mo
said
matinong-matino eh.
disallowance. Audit disallowances
Pero
not
MPA
appealed
pala.
within 6 months from the receipt thereof
Nangingidnap
shall
ng mga
become
bata.
the final executory as prescribed under Section 48 and 51 of PD 1445. So, naintindihan niyo po ba yung last sentence dito, Mr. Chair? Since kasama kayo, no, sa mga persons responsible,
Kung halimbawa lang mga guys, mayroong isang tao dyan na maglakas loob. Oh, naiintindihan ko. Ang nakalagay dito, ikaw ay isang convicted. Bakit di ka pa nakakulong? Ano kaya kung anong sasabihin? Baka ipakulong, no? Baka isigned in contempt. Pero kung may ano lang, katulad ni Tatay Digong, 230 na mabunganga, tapos biglang sagutin na, oh, nabasa ko yan. Anong nakalagay dito? Ikaw ay isang convicted na bakit nandito ka pa? Di ka pa nakakulong.
aside from Vice President Duterte, si Gina Acosta, at unfortunately, Mr. Chair, si Ma'am Villa Del Rey as Chief Accountant, no, for 34 years, tama ba? Chief Accountant po kayo ng for 34 years in the public service. So kung ito po ay talagang mapapind out natin at magkaroon ng in the proper forum pa, so handa ba kayo, Mr. Chair, na
ano?
maging responsible dito sa 125 million just in case, no, na hindi talaga ito ma-justify. At tingin natin nagkaroon ng misuse ng fund dito sa
Oy, Castro, wag mo nang takutin yan. Yan, tinatakot niyo naman. Eh kung talagang totoo yung pinagsasabi niyo, bakit dagdag pa kayo ng dagdag dyan? Hindi pa kayo magkaso. Eh alam niyo naman, hindi naman kayo korte. Ang trabaho niyo lang dyan, gumawa ng batas. Hindi kayo investigador. Eh dapat pala, hindi na kayo naging congressman eh. Kung investigador pala eh, dapat pumasok na lang kayo sa NBI. Kasi hindi na naman trabaho yan eh. Ang trabaho nyo lang dyan, para gumawa ng batas. Hindi mag-iimbestiga. Kung sa tingin nyo may nilabag sa batas yung OBP, kasuhan nyo. Ba't ano pa dyan? Tagal-tagal na yan. Nakailang hearing na yan. Ilang buwan na yan. Hearing na yan. Hindi na matapos-tapos. Tapos pagka may isang naging presidente naman na mga Duterte, iiyak naman kayo.
funds. Handa ka ba, Mr. Chair?
Depending on my participation, Your Honor, on the concerned subject of the disallowance.
Yes, oo, kasi kasama ka dito eh, no? Malaki yung papel, Mr. Chair, ni Miss Villa Del Rey.
Dapat kasi ang isasagot mo diyan, ma'am, sa kay convicted na ito, ay kung talagang may kasalanan ako, ay handa naman akong harapin sa korte. Kung ano man ang iano sa akin. Dapat ganun ang isagot mo. Sagutin mo ng pabalang yan.
At ano ba tingin mo yung pwedeng maging parusa po dito, Mr. Chair? As an accountable officer to this.
Tingnan mo naman ang tanong.
Your Honor, may I reiterate na ang aking pong participation is for the issuance of cash advance. When it comes to utilization and disbursement, it is the sole responsibility of the special
Anong klaseng
disbursing
tanong yan?
officer.
Anong pananagutan mo?
Yes. Oo, pero nakalagay dito.
Nasa hukuman nyo na maghahatol.
So sa liquidation ba part ka rin ng pagliliquidate? Kasi inuutusan din kayo.
Sino bang tao na hatulan ng sarili? Kung di ba namang isang katutag kang boba, sino ba naman, tanungin mo na ano sa palagay mo, ano, sino ba naman tao na amin na, sa palagay ko, bibitayin ako. Sa palagay ko, ikukulong ako ng 10. Sino bang taong sasagot ng ganon? Korte po ang nagdesisyon ng mga ganon. Huwag mong tanungin ng ganyan. Anong klaseng tanong yan?
Dito ng COA, di ba? To liquidate it for the last 6 months. So ibig sabihin nun, ang participation mo, although ini-insure mo, ito ay merong, as you mentioned earlier,
Palatang walang alam magtanong
pero di ba dapat ini-insure mo rin na yung paggagamitan ng pera ay tama?
Kasi
Your Honor, ang taking up po ng liquidation sa books of accounts is based solely sa receipt transmittal, stamp receipt ng ICPAW doon sa transmittal letter ng mga liquidation documents.
Okay. So, tingin mo wala kang pananagutan dito sa pondo na ito just in case na magkaroon ng mga kaso or
tama ka, opinion.
Personally, Your
Tama
Honor,
ka.
none.
Nagsasalita yung convicted
so
na yan
personally wala
Lakas
kang
ng loob,
pananagutan.
walang hiya nga.
Yes, Your Honor.
Wala nga hiya.
Well, I tingin ko meron. No? Okay. So,
Tingnan mo, ang tingin niya meron. Pinipilit pa.
Mr.
Gunggong
Chair,
talagang gunggong.
Itong well, ano na po ang status ng liquidation nito? Kasi parang binibigyan kayo ng 6 months, no? From August.
Kayo nga, walang liquidation kayo nga. Diyan, kayo nga sa Congress, wala kayong liquidation diyan. Kung di resibo lang. Tapos ang lakas ng loob niyo magtanong ng liquidation, anong liquidation? Kayo nga, wala kayong liquidation sa Congress. Mga buhaya.
August 2024. So ano na po yung hindi. Ilan po ba yung araw na or months you were permitted to submit yung liquidation? 180.
180 days.
Okay, ano na po yung status nito?
I don't have knowledge po of the status of the appeal or the reply to the notice of disallowance, Your Honor.
Pero nakapirma ka po dito Nakapirma ka doon sa at accountable officer kaya.
Accountable.
Diba?
Yes, Your Honor, but as I read the notice of disallowance, the concern of this disallowance is on the disbursement and utilization of confidential fund.
Okay. So, thank you, Ma'am Villadere.
Tama.
Mr. Chair, thank you po, Mr. Chair.
Tumigil ka na. Buti, tumigil ka. Wala namang kwenta yung tanong mo
Chair would like to
Walang kwenta.
recognize the Honorable Congresswoman.
Tinawag pa honorable itong isapang itong sip-sip na ito. Na congressman ng Manila. Matatalo na ito. Hindi na ito mananalo
Magandang hapon po sa ating mga resource
Si
person.
Ochoa.
Just to clarify, Mr. Chair, I
Oo.
would like to pursue the line of questioning on
Ito si Garin naman, may kaso rin ito sa Dingbaksya. Nakalimutan na ng tao yung daming namatay na mga bata sa Dingbaksya. Ito naman, walang malinis dyan. Ito naman, ang kaso nito, Dingbaksya, ang daming namatay na mga bata. Pero, yan kasi ang hirap sa natin sa gobyerno Pilipinas. Talagang nagkaka-high blood. Kaka-high blood talagang sa gobyerno natin. Tingnan niyo ito. Ito, nakaupo, kanina convicted. Ito naman, may kaso nito sa Dingbaksya nung panahon ni Noynoy. Hanggang ngayon, hindi pa tapos itong kaso nito. Pero tingnan mo na nandyan, nakaupo na naman. Kawawa talagang Pilipinas, taong bayan.
the possibility that there seems to be a misunderstanding of how confidential funds are being utilized. No? Kasi sa pananaw ko po, ito po ay isang bagay na dapat matuldukan kung yung ating pa po mga empleyado at kawani sa gobyerno
Tingnan nyo, kung magsalita, akala mo malinis.
purpose ng
Tingnan nyo.
confidential and or Intel funds
Oh,
para naman po hindi na maulit ang ganitong mga
oh,
situation.
oh.
So, Mr. Chair, earlier, if I may be allowed to take off from the line of questioning of our distinguished colleague, the Honorable Franz Castro.
Honorable pa.
Narinig ko lang
Tinawag
po
pa ng
kasi kanina,
honorable.
no, sinabi ni Mr. Tenido, sir, na they were preparing, you were involved, sir, in the preparation of the budgets, right?
Yes, po.
Yes. Can you enlighten this August body?
Kung ako lang nandyan, dapat ipaalala ko na, can you enlighten in this honorable body kung gaano kalaki kung gaano kadami ang namatay nung panahon ni Noynoy Aquino sa Dingbaksya? Can you enlighten me?
Can you define confidential
Oh.
funds?
Puro competition.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Mr. Kelvin Tenido.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Based on the joint circular, ma'am, confidential funds is to be used for the confidential activities such
Tama.
as surveillance. This is available for civilian government office in relation to the performance of their mandate, ma'am, Mr. Chair.
So confidential funds will be used for the surveillance activities of civilian government agencies to fulfill their mandate. And when we talk about activities, surveillance activities in relation to confidential funds, does this refer to the regular programs of the agency concerned? Or does this refer to programs related to insurgency and other threats to
Magkasama na
national
lahat
security?
yan. Kaya nga confidential
It's in
eh.
relation, ma'am, with the mandate of the office, ma'am.
In relation to the mandate of the office. And in this case, we're referring to the office of the Vice President or DepEd.
Patusok
Office
mga
of
guys,
the Vice
patusok lang please.
So which
Like
specific
subscribe
mandate,
na rin.
alin po doon sa mandato ng Office ng Vice President ang nangangailangan ng pondo ng confidential funds?
In case of OVP, it is really the operations, general operations of the OVP, and with the.
Can you put the microphone nearer po?
In case of OVP, this is for the operations of the projects and activities of the OVP. The entirety of the.
So how do you differentiate, Mr. Chair, yung pondo for the regular programs of the OVP vis-a-vis the confidential funds?
Confidential fund or confidential expenses, as they labeled it as in the GAA, is part of the overall budget of the OVP. The confidential expense or the confidential fund is not a separate item on top of the either good governance or socio-economic program delivery. It is within that program, ma'am.
Oh.
So, Mr. Chair, distinguished colleagues, ang pagkaintindi ko, ang sinasabi po ni Mr. Tenido, itong budget is the regular budget and ito namang confidential fund is another budget that seems to be an augmentation of the agency budget. Yan po ang pagkaintindi niya, sir.
Can you repeat, Mr. Chair? Sorry.
Ang pagkaintindi ko po, Mr. Chairman,
Pagkaintindi
sasagot ni
mo yan.
Mr. Tenido, yung confidential funds appears to be an augmentation of the existing funds of the department concerned or the office concerned.
I can't really say that it is the augmentation, but it's part of the budget, agency-specific budget of one office.
So, Mr. Chair, I believe this is where the problem lies. Kasi tila, pasensya na po, no? Tila hindi naiintindihan nung mga naghahawak ng pondo kung para saan.
Baka naman ikaw hindi nakakaintindi kung para saan yung maraming namatay na mga bata na Dingbaksya. Bakit pagkikialaman mo ang trabaho nila? Dapat pagkikialaman mo ang trabaho nyo na gumawa ng batas lang. Tapos nagkikialam kayo sa batas ng judiciary. Ang dapat kung tutuusin nga hindi naman yung trabaho yan mangimbestiga Ang trabaho nyo lang diyan ay gumawa ng in-aid of legislation, batas. Hindi kayo mangiimbestiga. Dapat trabaho na ng NBI yan, saka DOJ. Pati trabaho ng DOJ at saka NBI, kinukuha nyo na. Akala nyo naman, malinis kayo. Ikaw, dapat nakakulong ka na eh.
Ang confidential funds. I really didn't want to ask questions. Pero kanina ko pa kasi naririnig, Mr. Chair, paulit-ulit, tila umiikot po tayo, hindi natutuldukan. Either there is an intention to deviate from what should be discussed, either that is unintentional or intentional. Kasi sa pagkakaintindi ko at sa sinabi naman inamin ni Mr. Tenido, ang confidential funds ay ginagamit for surveillance activities of civilian government agencies. And that is different from intel funds because it's the same thing, surveillance activities for military personnel and intel practitioners. Parang ganun po. In other words, ang confidential fund ay gagamitin mo sa surveillance activities ng opisina kaakibat sa mga programa in relation to either terrorism.
Oy, makinig ka, Garin. Ang confidential fund ay lahat pwede paggamitan. Halimbawa, meron kang gustong alamin. Pwede ka magbigay sa civilian. Pwede mo bilihan sila ng gamit, pagkain o ano para may turo lang yung gustong malaman ng gobyerno. Hindi lang ibig sabihin na pera-pera yan o suporta sa military. Parang ibig sabihin ng confidential fund. Pero ang dapat kasi ang confidential hindi na pinag-uusapan yan kasi confidential nga eh. Pero ewan ko ba kung bakit pinag-uusapan ng in public yan. Kaya nga confidential kasi ang confidential walang ibang nakakaalam. Hindi alam ng mga tao yan. Hindi alam ng kalaban, hindi alam ng kalaban ng gobyerno o yung mga rebelde, NPA, hindi nila alam dapat yan. Pero ngayon dahil sa ginagawa nyo, nalalaman na lahat. Kasi pati confidential, hindi na dapat binubulgar, pinag-uusapan nyo dyan sa Congress.
And other activities that pertains to threats to national security. Can you confirm this, Mr.
Yes,
Tenido?
Mr. Chair, I confirm.
So, kinukumpirma niyo po ang sinasabi ko. Ulitin ko lang, Mr. Chair, no? So that we will be on the same road path.
Yes, please continue.
Okay. Linawin natin. Kasi kanina tila ang mga napag-uusapan, yung confidential funds ay pondo sa departamento ng Office of the Vice President and other civilian agencies that is dealing with specific programs and projects. Pero tila ang nakakalimutan, this is in relation to activities that pertains to either insurgency and other threats to national security. Do you confirm that, sir?
I
Sorry.
confirm, ma'am. I confirm, ma'am, based on the joint circular.
So on the joint circular, merong purpose. So nasabi niyo rin po kanina na kayo po ang gumawa ng proposal or justification. If I may quote nga, you also mentioned napakahaba ng proseso ng budget process at hindi madali ang inclusion ng confidential funds in an agency, either the OVP, DepEd, or other government agencies. Tama po ba, sir?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay. When you proposed the budget of confidential funds item in the Office of the Vice President, ano po ang specific programs and activities?
For fiscal year 2023, Mr. Chair, programs, activities, and projects, or PAPs, it's socio-economic program delivery, expected outcome, safe implementation of OVP initiatives and confidence building, and the success indicators for all the quarters of 2023. First is number of identified areas with surveillance conducted and monitored. Second, percentage of activities implemented without untoward security-related incidents. This is in reference to the Fiscal and Financial Plan for fiscal year 2023 submitted to DBM.
So Mr. Chair, dun po sa sagot nyo sir, ano po ang specific item doon that is related to national security threat?
There is no express, ma'am, statement on the Fiscal and Financial Plan, and we merely relied on how the Fiscal and Financial Plan was drafted and approved.
Pakiulit po nung sagot nyo, you relied on how?
On how the Fiscal and Financial Plan was prepared and approved, ma'am.
Is it not that this is prepared by your office as part of the budget and
No.
admin office?
No, ma'am, it is prepared by the Project Accountable Officer based on the template attached to the joint circular.
Tapos dumadaan ito sa inyo kasi ikaw ang magpropose sa DBM.
Kukunin ko na lang po siya, ma'am, once for submission
Okay?
to DBM, and once we receive, approved na po ito ng head of agency.
So kukunin mo siya at isasubmit mo sa DBM. Tama po ba?
Yes, ma'am.
Pag kinuha
Yes,
mo
Mr.
siya at sinubmit sa DBM, ano po, talagang parang clerical work lang, hindi mo na nire-review?
Well, check. I'll just check the amount if consistent with the
How about the description? Hindi
descrip-
po ba parte yan ng iyong trabaho?
Yes, ma'am, but the plan is already approved by the head of agency.
So what is your role then? Kasi salary grade ano po kayo, sir?
Yes, ma'am. Salary grade 24, ma'am.
So pag salary grade 24, nasa magkano po ang
Now
salary
po,
plus allowances sa ngayon po?
with the latest salary table, nasa 95 po.
So, Mr. Chair, we have heard a government official receiving approximately 95,000 per month. At ang naririnig ko sa sinasabi po ni Mr. Tenido, tinatanggap niya ang papel at pinapasa sa DBM.
Okay, so DBM na yung may ano nun, may responsibility to kung paano mali.
With position and with responsibility comes accountability. So I cannot accept the reason na tinanggap mo lang tapos pinasa mo sa DBM kasi deemed approved na siya. Because if you look at the purposes that were being mentioned, I cannot pinpoint even in this light.
Bakit ikaw garin? Halimbawa, kung may pinasa sa'yo si Tambalulong o Tambaluslos, o kailangan mo pa ba, oy Tambalulong, mali itong ano mo. Siguro baka mataranta ka pa eh. Ipasa mo na kaagad yun, hindi mo na questionin si Tambalulong. Katulad din nito, galing na sa taas, na-aprobahan na niya, halimbawa, Vice President, na-aprobahan na, hindi na niya questionin na yun. Ipapasa na kaagad doon sa ano na yun. Kung saan ang papuntahan nung ano na yun. Ikaw talaga, sabi niya, no.
Test idea, the link between national security threat and the PAPs that was mentioned by the Honorable Tenido. Tila po, Mr. Chair, yung justification is not for confidential funds. It was mere performance of the duties of the Office of the Vice President. At sa pagkakaintindi ko, this runs in contrast to the intention of the specific line item. Tama po ba ako, sir?
Hindi.
I can agree, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So may I ask also for
natuwa na kasi
Attorney
natuwa na,
Sanchez. So, ma'am, you came from COA before po kayo napunta sa
At
Office of the
agree
Vice
ka,
President.
matutuwa na yan. At
Let's pursue
titigilan ka na.
the same line of questioning. Pag meron pong confidential fund, ang confidential fund by the joint circular is defined as funds that it's to fund surveillance activities for anti-terrorism, drugs, or other situations where there is national security threat. And this is performed by civilian agencies. Okay. Coming from the Commission on Audit, kung tanggalin po natin yung iyong position in the Office of the Vice President, when an agency requests for funds from the national coffers of our government, hindi po ba ay merong specific na paggagamitan ito?
Ano mo na yung...
Yes, Your Honor. For
Patuwadin mo
the
na
regular
yung code
fund, it is required to be very specific, Your Honor.
Okay. Kapag gumamit ka ng confidential fund, magkaiba ba ito sa pinagagamitan sa regular activities ng opisinang pinanunungkulan nyo?
Your Honor, it should be different from the regular activities because that is the reason why it has to be separate fund, Your Honor.
Okay. And in this case, Your Honor, Mr. Chair, and the Honorable Resource Person, kay Attorney Sanchez, nagawa po ba yun o hindi?
Your Honor, as to the budgeting, Your Honor, based on what was submitted, it is different from the regular programs and projects of the
Ano po ang
OVP.
difference, ma'am? Because I was hearing earlier, it pertains to if, Mr. Chair, can we request Mr. Tenido to reiterate his earlier statement? My understanding earlier was that you mentioned that when you submit and requested for funding under confidential funds, it was for the purpose of the Vice President being able to accomplish her duties and mandate.
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chair, Mr.
So,
Chair.
what specific mandate are we referring to?
This is the operations of the OVP, ma'am.
Which specific operational item? I mean, which specific activity? Kasi if we say operations of the Vice President's office, it can actually refer to all the tasks that she performs together with the President. It's quite vague. Sa pananaw niyo po ba pag pinapadala niyo sa
Sino
DBM
bang,
yun, ina-approve or hinahanapan kayo ng specifics?
Ultimine, ba't sino bang
Can you
sino
repeat,
bang
Mr. Chair? Sorry.
Kapag kayo ay nagre-request ng pondo,
Ultimine, ba't sino bang nakaupo ngayon? Sino man nagnanakaw ngayon, mga Duterte pa rin ba? Tanong ko lang sa iyo yan. At saka nirespeto ko naman ang opinion mo. Pero yung sinasabi mong burahin ng mga Duterte, nasa taong bayan yan. Hindi yan decision mo, hindi yan decision ko. Nasa taong bayan yan. Malalaman natin yan sa election. Pero okay lang yan kasi yan ang ayaw mo sa Duterte. Nirespeto natin yan. Bawat isa, kanya-kanyang respetuhin natin ng bawat isa.
sa DBM, hinahanapan ba kayo ng specifics or details or hindi?
Yes, there are instances po that the DBM request for additional documents, additional details.
Okay. In this case, ano po ang naging justification? I mean, Mr. Chair, just for the record, I'm not saying that it's disallowed. I'm just pointing to the fact na kaya tayo nagkakagulo at nalilito lahat kasi apparently it seems that some officials in the particular office are not aware of how they should use or utilize confidential funds, nor are they aware of the difference between confidential funds and or regular funds of the agency or MOOE. So pwede po ba tayong maliwanagan doon?
During the request, ma'am, nag-reply lang po ang DBM with our request to submit a physical and financial plan. The request was submitted on
What was contained in your submission?
the one I read earlier, ma'am, the
Confidence building.
yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So Mr. Chair, Your Honors, medyo nagugulat po ako kasi pasensya na po sir, I don't want to mean any harm. But I think this should be corrected. Kasi you requested, let's say, 500 million confidential funds. And the purpose is confidence building. Ano po ba yon? Kasi naririnig ko po yung confidence building, Mr. Chair, kapag kakandidato ka sa Miss Universe, yung mga pageant, di ba parang nagtitrain tayo para maging confident sila sa paglakad, sa pagsagot. So, if it is in relation to confidence building in the office of the Vice President, how do we link this to threats on national security? So much so, nagagastos tayo ng 500 milyon para sa confidence building. Kaninong confidence po ang binibuild up? Sino-sino po ang nagiging participants nito?
Bakit ibubulgar mo ang confidence building? Bakit gusto mong alamin? Kung sasabihin ba magiging confidential pa? Hindi na confidential 'yon. Ang tawag doon. kung ibubulgal mo rin.
Po ang naging outcome, naging mas magaling ba yung ating mga empleyado na nag-underwent ng confidence building? Ano ang naging kakayahan nila ikumpara nung kapanahunan na wala pang pondong ganito?
Mr. Chair, for the time at the time of the request, the indicators reflected in the physical and financial plan are the number of identified areas with surveillance conducted and monitored. And then the second one is the percent of activities implemented without untoward security-related incidents, ma'am. This is all in relation to the OVP's activities for all and in all satellite offices, ma'am.
Kaya nga, Mr. Chair, if I may, Mr. Chair, bumalik po tayo, sir, doon sa para saan po ba ang confidential funds? Ang confidential funds ay para sa mga activities kung saan binabantayan natin ang kapakanan ng taong bayan against national security threats, kagaya ng terorismo, droga, outbreaks, pandemics. Tama po ba, sir?
I agree, Mr. Chair.
Okay. And in this case, ang sabi ngo niya is confidence building in targeted areas with no untoward incidents. Pasensya na po, sir, kasi masyado pong vague ang sagot nyo. And this vagueness can be interpreted, Mr. Chair, in two possibilities. One is that you are avoiding answering the question, or two, possibly talagang may misunderstanding on how confidential funds should be utilized. And that is why we are in this mess now.
Okay.
So alin po doon ang sinasabi niyong, you mentioned about no untoward events or incidents. Ano pong untoward incidents ang hinahanap natin sa satellite offices na hindi dapat mangyari, na na-curtail or na-prevent ng confidential funds?
I cannot give a definite statement, ma'am, because I just relied with the physical and financial plan, and I cannot interpret it in such a way na.
But Mr. Chair, Your Honor, kayo po ang nagsasubmit sa DBM. Kung ako po ang official na magsasubmit sa DBM, hindi po ba pag-submit ko noon ay nakasaad doon ang mga...
Halimbawa, inutusan ka ni Tambalulong, ni Tamba. Halimbawa ka rin, halimbawa lang. Kung inutusan ka ni Tambalulong, kukwestiyonin mo ba si Tambalulong? Kukwestiyonin mo ba si Tambalulong? Hindi mo na kukwestiyonin yan kung anong utos niya. Kaya nga ginagawa niyo yung hearing na walang katapusan eh. Kasi nga, yan ang utos sa inyo. Hindi niyo nakukwestiyon si Tambalulong. Ganyan din ang nangyayari dyan. Pag dumating sa kanya, sabi niya, ibigay mo doon sa DBM. Ayun, ibigay na yun. Wala nang habang kwento. Ganun ang trabaho niya. Likewise sa inyo, kaya tuloy-tuloy ang kahit na walang kwenta, paulit-ulit na lang, dahil yan ang utos sa inyo. Yan ang utos sa inyo. Kaya nga hindi na matigil-tigil yan eh. Paulit-ulit na lang yung confidential. Walang katapusan.
Activities na gagawin at ano ang objective. Di ba para anong tawag doon? PAP? Yeah. What does PAP stands for, Mr. Chair?
Programs, activities, and projects.
So, programs, activities, and projects. Kunyari, yung programs, activities, and projects mo doon is counter-insurgency, anti-drug abuse, prevention of outbreaks, epidemics, and pandemics. Tapos yung pondo, 500 billion. Di ba meron yung specific outcomes? So, ang specific outcomes mo, sasabihin mong, walang mga terroristic activities. Minimized yung drug use from this percentage to this percentage. Meron nagkasakit pero naagapan, hindi nagka-outbreak. Tama po ba, Mr. Chair, Your Honors?
Tama, Mr. Chair.
So, ang tinatanong ko, in the case of the Office of the Vice President, and again, this should be required in all other offices, Mr. Chair, in aid of legislation, alin po doon sa sinasabi nyo ang ganitong pangyayari? Because this is 500 million.
Mr. Chair, yes, Mr. Chair. I cannot pinpoint which ang involved ang confidential activities But based on the fiscal and financial plan, it is for the safe implementation of OVP initiatives and confidence building. So I would surmise that this applies to all the activities or the initiatives of the Office of the Vice President, Mr. Chair.
So, Mr. Chair, may we request Mr. Tenedo kindly define confidence building?
In my personal or on how it was
As used.
Ma'am, may iano lang po kami, singit lang ako. Bago po ninyo sagutin yan, gusto ko lang pong malaman, tinanggap po ng DBM yung justification ninyo?
Yes, sir.
No,
After we
tinanggap.
submit the physical and financial plan, there were no additional comments or
Yun ang tanungin nyo. Yun lang
additional
tama.
details that they required for
Kung
us.
DBM ang tanungin nyo. Kasi kung tinanggap, wala nang question balungos.
Mr. Chair, just to add on to
Yes,
that,
please.
my understanding is that
Oh,
if an
yung
agency
understanding lang
submits
yan.
to DBM, may mga attachments po yun. The mere fact that it refers or pertains to confidential funds, it goes with it without saying that this should be compliant with a joint circular on the utilization of confidential and intel funds. Kaya po yung mga activities na nakasaad doon, yung implementation of OVP initiatives and confidence building should be aligned with a joint circular. Ibig sabihin, yung OVP initiatives nito, kagaya niyang active surveillance ng mga sakit para walang pandemic, or active surveillance ng mga drug pushers sa mga lugar na yon, then these are the activities that we are seeing. But it just confuses me. Nalilibog ako, Mr. Chair. Kasi, malilito ka talaga dahil, ang problema kasi, malilito ka dahil hindi naiintindihan ng mga nagpapatakbo ng Office of the Vice President the difference between regular activities and activities in relation to national security threats. Let's say if we say confidence building, whose confidence are you building?
I cannot interpret on how it was reflected in the physical and the financial plan because this
But
was
you submitted this to DBM. So, alam nyo supposedly, or let's say, sabihin na natin, dun sa mga activities na ginawa nyo, or on a personal note, and maybe we can also ask Attorney Sanchez because you came from COA. So if it's about handling activities in the satellite office, although Mr. Chair, for the record, I do not have objections in the satellite office. The more government offices that we have that can cater to direct services to the people, the better. However, if we are going to use, let's say kung meron tayong social services, burial expenses, food aid, medical aid, kailangan naman talaga ng taong bayan yan. But the problem is that if we're going to use confidential funds for this, the fear of duplication is there. Kaya nga bumabalik tayo, saan ginamit yung pera? Kasi pag confidence building, Mr. Chair, kunyari, sasabihan mo ako, payat ka! Although alam ko namang mataba ako, ang feeling ko, talagang totoong payat siguro ako. But will that have an impact on national security threats? Or is it confidence na sabihin natin, trimain mo yung mga tao para pag nag-gather sila ng information, alam nila na tama yung impormasyon na kukuha nila. But it leads us to another question. How can you gather information if these activities were confined in a satellite office or a mere office, or if it was in relation to distribution of food assistance? In other words, I cannot comprehend, ni hindi ko matuhog at maintindihan yung relationship ng purpose. Para saan ba ang perang ito? Ano ba ang pinagkagastusan? Aligned ba sila? Or is this a case of technical malversation? Yan lang po, Mr. Chair, ang gusto nating maliwanagan because this has to be corrected. So may we ask, I think Attorney Sanchez was raising her hand.
Yes, Mr. Chair. May I
Attorney
be-
Sanchez, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Your Honors, my understanding of the term confidence building as used in the physical and financial is that the office intends to build the public trust in the government. So we need to make sure that the services of the OVP reach the public. That's why it is for the safe and successful implementation of OVP programs and services.
So, Mr. Chair, pasensya na po. Pero mas lalo akong
Talaga sangayon
nervyos sa
pagka
mga
yung
sagot
hindi
ni
sangayon.
Attorney Sanchez. What you are saying is correct in terms of performing the duties of the Vice President. And this can be given augmentation funds. But what is its relation to confidential funds that is related to national security threats?
Mr. Chair, my understanding is that the use of the actual fund should be limited with what are provided in the joint circular.
And what are the
So,
items provided in the joint circular?
that
Please read the specific section,
Yes,
Mr. Chair. Attorney
So-
Sanchez.
For under item 4.8, the confidential fund shall be used only for the following confidential expenses. Under 4.8.1, that would be purchase of information necessary for the formulation and implementation of program, activities, and projects relevant to the national security and peace and order. Under 4.8.2, rental of transport vehicle related to confidential activities. 4.8.3, rentals and the incidental expenses related to the maintenance of safe houses. 4.8.4, purchase or rental of supplies, materials, and equipment for confidential operations that can not be done through regular procedures without compromising the information gathering activity of concern. 4.8.5, payment of rewards to informers for non-employees of concerned government agencies, subject to the following conditions. The first one is approval by the head of agency in the case of LGUs and national government agencies.
So in other words, Attorney Sanchez, yung binasa mo, yan ang purpose ng confidential funds. Tama?
Yes,
How to relate that to confidence building and making the office of the Vice President effective?
So under 4.8.1, Mr. Chair, it is allowed to purchase information to be able to formulate and implement programs.
Okay,
activities,
Madam,
and
Mr. Chair, dagdagan ko lang, okay lang po ba? Kapag merong confidence building, are you saying that this is synonymous to purchase of confidential information?
Not necessarily, Mr. Chair.
It's, I believe, Mr. Chair, it's answerable by yes or no. What do you mean by not necessarily?
Because there are also other uses, Mr. Chair.
Simplin lang po natin. Yung sinasabi po ninyong purchase of information in relation to national security threats. Is that synonymous? Pareho po po yan sa confidence building in the office of the Vice President or hindi?
It can be, Mr.
How?
Chair. If the information that was purchased will be used to
So how do you
develop programs-
purchase information when you do confidence building activities, Mr. Chair?
Mr. Chair, the information is purchased to be able to craft programs which would
Mr.
be...
Chair, apologies, but I believe Attorney Sanchez is not answering my question. Napakasimple po ng tanong ko. Ang sinabi niyo po kanina, karamihan ng 500 million ay ginamit niyo sa confidence building. I do not have any objection to that. But my question is very specific. Yung confidence building na yun, paano yon naging payment of rewards, gathering of purchase of information, and safe houses? Ano po ang relasyon nung dalawa? Ibig natin sabihin, itong bote, nilagyan ng tubig. So itong tubig, paano siya may lalagay sa bote? Pinur mo yung tubig, hindi siya lalabas. So the purpose of the bottle is to contain the water so that it will not spill. In this case, this is the 500 million confidential fund. The purpose of this is to prevent outbreaks, epidemics, national security threats, and to protect the sambayanang Pilipino. Ngayon, ano ang relasyon ni itong 500 million na sinasabi mo under the joint circular to the confidence building na ginawa nyo? You're saying purchase of information, safe houses, rewards na pinamigay. Pero sa confidence building, ang alam ko niyan mga seminar, di ba?
yung sasabihin, kaya mo to, pinapatibay ang loob mo. What is the relationship nitong mga seminar na ito, ng mga confidence building activities na ito, dito sa goal nyo na mawala or maibsan ang terorismo sa Pilipinas?
Your Honor, as planned, the confidence building would entail that the projects and programs of the OVP are safely and successfully implemented. Because
Last
the
question,
public-
Mr. Chair. I do hope you will bear with us,
Yes.
Attorney Sanchez.
Sure.
By your looks and by your nature and by your reputation, I know that you have the intellect and the neurons and you know the truth about all of this. Okay. Ang sinasabi mo is for the implementation of the programs of the OVP. Are you not referring to the regular budget and not the confidential budget?
No,
And what differentiates that from each other?
Mr. Chair, no, I am not referring to the regular budget.
Anong diferensya nung, kasi di ba sinasabi mo, para ma-implement, o gumamit tayo ng ibang opisina, gamitin natin yung Department of Social Welfare and Development. Ano ba ang mandato ng DSWD para maalagaan yung mga Pilipino sa panahon ng kalamidad? Para maibsan yung gutom, para maiyahon yung mga hirap at umangat sa buhay. Am I correct? But if they will be given confidential funds, will that be tantamount to accomplishing those programs or objectives? Or is it tantamount to saying, meron silang confidential fund kasi habang tinutulungan nila yung mga mahihirap, minamarapat rin nila na walang mga drugs na umiikot doon, walang mga sakit na pwedeng maging pandemic doon, or walang mga tao doon na rini-recruit na para sa mga illegal and terrorism activities. Tama po ba?
Sorry, may I be clarified about the question, Your Honor?
Napakasimple po nung sinabi ko. Ito ang DSW. Let's say, ito yung DSWD. Ang mandato nila, mamigay ng tulong kapag may kalamidad. Tulungan yung mga mahihirap na merong pangkabuhayan. Iangat sila sa antas ng pamumuhay. That is their regular budget. Tama.
Yes.
Pag meron siyang confidential fund, dahil ang confidential fund is for the purpose of countering terrorism, preventing threats to national security like outbreaks, pandemics, and even drugs, gagamitin nila yan, siguro kung ando doon sila tinutulungan yung mga mahihirap, na magkaroon din ng information kung sino doon yung mga nagsusupply ng drugs. Or, isa-surveillance naman nila in terms of disease surveillance kasi baka dumarami yan at maging outbreak. Tama po ba?
Yes.
Now, kanina ko pa paulit-ulit na naririnig sa inyo to perform the mandate of the Office of the Vice President, to be able to perform the initiatives and confidence building of the Office of the Vice President. What is the difference in that objective that is different from the utilization of the confidential fund?
Your Honor, the objective may be the same, but the specific items intended to be spent on would be different. Your
So
Honor.
sabihin na lang natin, can you categorically point to us what specific OVP mandate are you referring to or OVP initiative?
Your Honor, as planned, it would pertain to all OVP.
So lahat ng
programs.
OVP activities is related to counterterrorism?
Your Honor, that can be related, Your Honor.
Please be specific.
Alin
doon?
Your Honor, again, the plan is very general, but in terms of the specific or actual
Hindi, kaya nga,
Uses.
give us one example. Pasensya na ha, kasi hindi ko rin talaga memorize. Can you explain, can you give us the mandate of the Office of the Vice President?
the mandate, essentially, Your Honor, is to provide socioeconomic services to the people, Your Honor.
So which in the actions in providing socioeconomic services can a national threat happen?
Your
Saan, kailan, at paano nagiging national threat sa taong bayan ang trabaho ng OVP?
Your Honor, it can also be in the engagements of the Vice President, Your Honor. But for the specific projects, for example, Your Honor, when we conduct distributions for our projects in some
So
areas.
when you conduct distribution, kunyari may namatay, pag nagbigay ka ng abuloy, tinatanong mo rin yung namatay o meron ba ditong drug pusher, ganun po?
I have no knowledge, Your Honor, on the specific or the actual use, Your Honor, but it can be, and it can also be, Your Honor, part of it.
So pag nagbibigay ka ng abuloy, sasabihin mo, oh, condolence po. So sino po dito sa palibot nyo ang nagsusupply ng drugs, parang ganun po?
Your Honor, with regard to the regular fund of the OVP,
No, we're not talking about the regular fund. We're talking about the confidential fund.
that is possible, Your Honor.
Talaga namang, yeah. So, and then when you provide food aid and medical aid, so this is in the interior areas
Your Honor,
or in the offices.
I am not aware of the actual utilization, Your Honor.
And napansin ko na lang din, in all the quarterly utilization, it pertains to all the same items. Purchase of information, payment of reward. So every quarter, meron kayong binibigyan ng reward.
I have no personal knowledge, Your Honor.
Who can answer that in your team, among the resource persons here?
I don't think there is anyone from us who can answer, Your Honor.
What is the process? When you release funds, di ba before mo sundan yon ng it's cash advance, tama po ba? So
Yes.
nagbigay ka ng cash advance, before mo isunod, sisiguraduhin mong na-liquidate or natapos na yung... So can you give a reward kung wala ka namang parameters by which a reward can be given?
Based
So
on
tanungin kita, kunyari ikaw yung head ng office, meron kang reward na ipamimigay, pero wala ka namang parameters.
based on the joint circular, Your Honor.
No, not based on the joint circular. I'm asking you directly as a head of a certain office. Pag magbigay ka ng reward, ibig ba sabihin noon ay meron kang parameters? Let's say example, magbibigay ka ng reward sa mga estudyante. E titingnan mo ba doon, walang absence sa school, ito yung grade na natin, tama po ba?
Yes,
So in this case, meron kayong parameters kung paano magbigay ng reward, tama po ba? But then how can you say that you are giving out rewards every now and then? Kasi yun ang naging justification nyo. Safe houses, how do you define safe houses, Your Honors?
Your Honors, based on the actual utilization, Your Honor, I cannot.
On your personal knowledge as a lawyer.
Your Honor, safe houses are places wherein you could house your informants or people who would need protection, Your Honor.
So in this case, you had informants that you were providing housing on a regular basis.
I have no personal knowledge, Your Honor.
So Mr. Chair, paano po ito kung kunyari nawala bang confidential funds ng 2024 or hindi?
We do not have confidential funds.
So
for
paano
that.
itong mga nilagay nyo sa safe houses? Saan sila nilipat?
I have no personal knowledge, Your Honor.
Unless wala kang ililipat kasi wala naman siyang laman, okay lang yon. Kunyari, may mga safe houses, nag-rent kayo ng maraming safe houses, pero walang laman. Kung nawala ang pondo, okay lang yun, kasi wala namang laman, Mr. Chair. Pero kung merong laman, syempre, kailangan nyo silang ilipat, di po ba?
That would be a fair assumption, Your Honor.
Yeah, so Mr. Chair, pasensya na po, no? Medyo humaba-haba lang because I'm really bothered by the fact that we have not ordinary employees, government officials who are supposed to be qualified, but there seems to be amnesia in recalling or defining the difference between a regular budget and confidential funds. And mas nakakabahala po, Mr. Chair, if pag-uusapan natin ang confidence building, if this is confidence building among our athletes or among or Miss Universe contestants, okay po yan. Pero hindi ko pa rin po talaga matuhog ang confidence building vis-a-vis spending 500 million pesos. So with that, Mr. Chair, I hope that as we move forward, the committee can recommend initiatives by which people in these offices will be reoriented. I'm not sure if indeed they do not know, reoriented, or maybe check into how technical malversation can be prevented in the future. And maybe, Mr. Chair, if I'm not sure if it's allowable, but can we have the confidence building activities? A copy kung pwedeng ma-request sa committee for the future hearings.
Comsec, please take note of the manifestation of Congresswoman Janet Garin.
Mr. Chair, it's a request para lang po maliwanagan tayo kasi baka I'm requesting if it's possible what kind of confidence building activities led to the disbursement of the confidential funds kasi baka naman
We will try to write the Office of the Vice President inquiring the meaning of
Because
confidence
it's-
building.
yan po ang naging sulat papunta sa DBM which triggered allegedly as mentioned by Sir Tenido yung kanilang request for confidence building resulted to the release of confidential funds. Kaya
Maybe we can ask the DBM the programs, activities, and projects that the OVP submitted to the DBM para doon po ma-check po natin talaga kung magmamatch po talaga yung justification nila and how come it was approved by DBM.
yes, Mr. Chair, I rely on your confidence also.
Thank you po. So, are there any other matters that the members wish to discuss before we suspend the hearing? Kung wala na po, do I hear a motion to suspend?
Before we move for that, Mr. Chair, I just have quick manifestation. Unang-una, nagpapasalamat po ako sa 4 na resource persons po natin na dumalo po kayo ngayon. Kay Ma'am Villa Del Rey, kay Attorney Sanchez, kay Mr. Sorry, the light is shining against your name. Tenido, and kay Ma'am Rabago. So papasalamat ako sa inyo na nakadalo kayo. It only shows that you don't bite. So there's nothing
Thank
to
you very much, guy.
be scared
Hanggang dito
no, in
na lang at
attending the
tapos
hearings.
na
You
yata
just
eh.
want to ferret out the truth. But can I just get a solid commitment from you
Kunwari,
that when we
nagbait-bait
do
na
have
naman
our
ito.
next hearing and those that we subpoena come and arrive, can you make yourself available and present in that next hearing as well?
Hindi pa matapos-tapos.
Yes?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr.
Yes, Mr.
Okay, so yun lang, Mr. Chair. Gusto ko lang po i-assure
Okay,
na
salamat mga guys. Hanggang susunod.
dadalo sila sa
ano,
susunod na hearing
tingnan
po
natin muna.
natin. And on that note,
Tapusin
Mr.
muna
Chair,
natin.
para may sasabihin ka pa? Okay. I move that we suspend today's hearing.
Oh, tapos na.
So move, Mr. Chair.
Is there any
Tapos na rin.
second to the motion? Is there any objection? Hearing